And we are live for week 14. How's it going, everybody? Good morning. Happy Sunday. It is the final week of the fantasy football regular season in most leagues. It's time to lock in. How's it going, everybody? We already got the comments flooded with some critical start-sit decisions. We got some big decisions we're going to have to make today. We got to do our best to get them right. Good morning, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the banger of a Thursday night game we had this week. Hope you all were riding the over with me on Thursday night. We got some great games today. A lot of close games projected today. We got the Lions playing off the Bears in the 1 o'clock window. The Rams going against the Ravens. That game has some weather we got to be aware of. We got the Colts versus the Bengals. That game's projected to be close, relatively high scoring. The Texans and the Jets in one of the uglier games of the week. Some weather to be concerned about in that game as well. We got the Saints and the Panthers. A lot of injury news coming out of that Saints game. Alvin Kamara looks to be on Christian McCaffrey-esque levels today. We got the Buccaneers and the Falcons facing off in a divisional matchup. That game's projected to be close. The Jaguars and Browns are only a 1.5 point spread. And then in the later window, we got the 49ers playing against likely the Seattle Seahawks without Geno Smith. That game's not going to be very close. We got the Vikings and the Raiders, though. That one should be good. The Bills and the Chiefs projected to be extremely high scoring. And then tonight, we get the Eagles and the Cowboys, and later today, the Broncos and the Chargers. A lot of good games today, a lot of start-sit decisions to talk through. We're just getting started here, guys. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button. I do appreciate it. We're going to get to thousands of start-sits today, guys. We're locked in. We are as locked in as we've ever been because we have to get into the fantasy playoffs. And if we got a bye within reach, which I see some people do, we got to make sure we grab that as well. Pick 3, Cup, Ridley, Eckler, Wilson. Yeah, so there's a bunch of Wilsons in play today. I'm going to assume you mean Garrett Wilson here. And probably a good time to jump to the Weatherman Sam report today. To me, this one's between Cup and Garrett Wilson, by the way. You got to be playing Austin Eckler. The panic around Austin Eckler, guys, is getting out of control. It's getting out of control. You need to start Austin Eckler. Appreciate this, by the way, if you have start-sits with the same position. And between Cup and Garrett Wilson, I think I probably would go with Garrett Wilson. Actually, both those guys have tough matchups today in terms of the weather, too. CEH or Flowers? Ooh, man, that one's tough. I think I'd probably go with Flowers over CEH in a normal setting. But let me pull up the Weatherman Sam report here because I'll pull up the wide receiver tiers here also on the TikTok Live for us to look through. But the weather report's not looking great in a couple of games today, mainly the Texans and the Jets. We're going to have heavy rain in this Texans-Jets game. This is why they're over-under in this game. It's only 33.5. And we have wind gusts over 30 miles an hour in this Texans and Jets game. So that's really bad news for the passing attack. It's really bad news for Garrett Wilson. It's bad news for Nico Collins. Bad news for C.J. Stroud. Bad news for Zach Wilson. The whole offense on both sides of the ball likely will score less points today in the weather of this Jets and Texans game. And then the other game with some concerning weather is the Rams at the Ravens. Similar weather here. It's a little better than the Jets and Texans game. We still have heavy rain, though, likely throughout, 25-plus mile-an-hour wind gusts. I'm a little bit less worried about this game. I do still think the offenses can do okay. I just think the passing offenses will struggle. Bad news here for Puka Nacua. Bad news for Cooper Kupp. Bad news for Zay Flowers, too. I don't think you're that crazy for starting Clyde over Zay Flowers today. Isaiah Pacheco is out. Isaiah Pacheco looks like a decent candidate for IR. He might be done for the rest of the season. Good morning, Matthew. How are we doing? Hope you had a great couple days since Thursday. Pick 2, Jordan Addison, Cortland Sutton, or Devontae Adams. Yeah, you got to bench Jordan Addison here, I think. Jordan Addison's all of a sudden, let me bring up the Walter Picks app here on the screen. Jordan Addison all of a sudden is this boom-bust wide receiver 3 option where in past weeks without Justin Jefferson, he's really been like a mid-wide receiver 2. Justin Jefferson's back today, guys. Justin Jefferson is fully healthy. I expect a full Justin Jefferson today. His prop line's moved all the way from 66.5 to 78.5 in just the last couple of days. 66.5 was just too low. I've never seen a Jefferson line that low in recent memory. So I would play Sutton and Adams. Let's do this comparison, though. And see if Walter agrees with me. I think Adams against the Vikings in a dome. I like that one. I do really like Sutton against the Chargers, too. Both of them are top 15 according to Walter's ranks. Jordan Addison, not even in the top 30 with Justin Jefferson returning. Yeah, so this one's not very close. Both Devontae Adams and Cortland Sutton both really good options. I mean, Sutton, guys, has been as consistent gets. The last time he finished under 9 PPR points was week 5. He's been on a touchdown scoring streak too. The only game he went under 10, he didn't score a touchdown. Look at all these touchdowns for Courtland Sutton. He's got more games with a touchdown than without this season. Only 3 games without a touchdown this season for Courtland Sutton, and he probably gets another one today against the Chargers in what should be a pretty high-scoring game. All right, Dobbs or Garrett Wilson? Yeah, so the weather report has me second-guessing this one a little bit. I do think I have Garrett Wilson in a tier higher than Dobbs in my rankings, but the Jets are playing in a game with heavy winds and 30-plus mile-an-hour wind gusts. Honestly, I think you go Romeo Dobbs over Garrett Wilson with that context, with Zach Wilson starting. Romeo Dobbs also no longer competing with targets with Christian Watson. He won't play this week. He likely will be out multiple weeks. So, yeah, I think I'm fine going Dobbs over Christian Watson. Chris Godwin's up that high. Yeah, so when I was going through these rankings today at the wide receiver position, I had a tough time knowing where to put Chris Godwin because part of me knows Chris Godwin's been terrible this season. He's been incredibly inconsistent in terms of scoring consistent fantasy points, if that makes sense. He's been I guess I said that wrong. He's been incredibly consistent at not scoring a lot of fantasy points. Chris Godwin has not been over 10 PPR points since week 8. He's got under 10 points in 5 straight games. We're talking about Chris Godwin here. And still, I'm buying the squeaky wheel narrative a little bit for Chris Godwin this week. Where do I have him here in the ranks? Yeah, I got him at the end of tier 6, right there with Calvin Ridley, ahead of guys like Adam Thielen, Amari Cooper, Jacoby Myers, Jordan Addison. I do think that Chris Godwin's complaining, which really picked up this past week, will lead to more targets. I sometimes do buy into those narratives, and I am buying into that one for Chris Godwin this week. All that being said, though, his data has looked terrible. Big Man Sam, good morning. Playoff witching hour. Yeah, we're not at the witching hour yet, Xavier, but we're in the playoff hunt for sure. Over these next 3 hours, we are locked in. All right, pick 3. Gibbs, Kyren, Devonta, Pollard, Garrett, Zay. Yeah, so bench Garrett Wilson, bench Zay Jones here for sure. You got to be deciding between these first 4, especially with the weather projected in this Jets game. And we got the prop of the day question here. I got a prop of the day for us for sure. You got to start Kyren Williams. I think you got to start Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm a little bit nervous about Devontae Smith, and I've been pretty bullish on Devontae Smith over the last 3 games with Dallas Goedert out. He has absolutely popped off. He's been an elite wide receiver 1, really, in the last 3 games. Look at this: 16 points, 23 points, 24 points over his last 3 games. This is Devontae Smith. Someone asked for the QB tiers. I got you with the QB tiers in the TikTok live. I'll put the QB rankings here on the YouTube live again too, and we can talk through some of those. But yeah, Devontae Smith has been on a tear, but now Dallas Goedert comes back. But also a pretty high-scoring projected game here against the Cowboys. Tony Pollard's on the other side of this one. The Eagles have been good against running backs. Pollard's been picking it up, though, of late too. I think the PPR league, I'd probably lean Devontae Smith over Tony Pollard, but it's extremely close. Definitely extremely close. I got Tony Pollard at running back 14 in my running back rankings. I think I have Devontae Smith around the back-end wide receiver 2 range, around wide receiver 25. And then player prop of the day. Yeah, so I got us with the player prop of the day. This one feels like a good one to me. We cashed the Juju Smith-Schuster prop on Thursday night. That one was pretty easy. They actually moved the line during the live stream. But let's look at the free player prop of the day today. And this one is actually Rashee Rice over 52.5 receiving yards. Some of these you can see. Some of these books have this line actually at 51.5 for Rashee Rice. I do like this one a lot. Rashee Rice has back-to-back games with at least a 30% target share. He's in a game that's projected to be the second highest scoring game of the week, only behind the Cowboys and Eagles game. And he's 2 straight weeks. Rashee Rice has set new career highs in snap percentage. He's going to be out there close to 70% of the snaps at least. He's running around on almost every single drop back. 2 straight games over 30% target share. He's so obviously the best receiver that the Chiefs have. Chiefs also without Isaiah Pacheco. Don't be shocked if we see them lean more pass heavy in this game. Rashee Rice can hit this in the first half. Over 52.5 receiving yards. We are 22-9 on the free player props this season. Absolutely ridiculous accuracy we've had on these. And yeah, I'm riding with Rashee Rice today for the free player prop. All right. Hope all is well. Do I start Ridley this week? Yeah, so I'm pretty scared about the Jaguars offense today. And part of the reason for that is Trevor Lawrence and his health. But with Christian Kirk out, Calvin Ridley can be started. He can be started. And yes, I'm definitely going to start Rashee Rice over Drake London and over Puka Nacua. Absolutely. I'll do both those things. Again, Puka Nacua has really bad weather today. Really bad weather. We got heavy rain and wind in the 30-mile-an-hour gust range in that game. All right, Tarak, we don't need to spam in the YouTube live. We're going to get to all the comments. And Njoku or Ingram, there's some really difficult tight end decisions today. Some very, very difficult ones. And Taysom Hill being out only makes it tougher. Let me find the tight end tiers here for the TikTok live. We'll talk through the tight end tiers. We're going to talk through the QB tiers coming up here in a second. We're just getting started, guys. We're going to get to thousands of start sits. We're going to talk about every single player, every single game. If you're just tuning in, thank you for being here. We're literally just getting started. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. We are 14 weeks in. I have not missed a Sunday morning this season, and it is time to lock in. All right, let's talk through some of these tight ends because tight ends, it's getting bleak out there. Travis Kelce, I still believe he's in a tier of his own, though that tier does feel like it is shrinking between him and tier 2 of Hockenson, Laporta, Kittle. I think if you don't have Kelce, Hockenson, Laporta, Kittle, and then some of these guys in tier 3, Ferguson, Kmet, Ingram, you're going to be in some trouble this week, some big-time trouble. We got a question here in the TikTok live. Njoku or likely. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, we've got another question in the YouTube live here about Njoku and Evan Ingram. I would play Evan Ingram over Njoku. I would play Isaiah Likely over David Njoku as well. We got Joe Flacco starting again here for the Browns. We also, let me pull this up here. Njoku did not do well last week. He had a huge week the week before that. I do like Isaiah Likely. I worry about the weather a little bit for Isaiah Likely. I still think Isaiah Likely has a better chance at a touchdown this week, though, than David Njoku. And, man, this is a close one. We're comparing it here in the Walter Picks app on the YouTube live. And these guys are all projected between 8.3 and 8.7. Evan Ingram definitely is the best option here, though, of the group between Evan Ingram, Isaiah Likely, and David Njoku. Evan Ingram's consistency this year, guys, has truly been incredible. Like way bit more consistent than I think most people realize. There really hasn't been a more consistent tight end than Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram does not have a single game this season under a 16% target share. Not a single game. He's had at least 6 targets in every game since week 2. Truly, truly incredible stuff. And he just scored his first touchdown last week. Don't be shocked if he scores a second touchdown today. Not a great matchup here for Evan Ingram. Not a great matchup here, though, for David Njoku either. Isaiah Likely, though, it is a great matchup. The Rams have been crushed, and I mean crushed, by tight ends this season. Again, the weather in that game is not great. Going to be rainy and windy in that game. But we just saw Harrison Bryant score 17 points against them. We just saw Trey McBride pop off for 13. We saw Luke Musgrave and Jake Ferguson go for 14 points against the Rams earlier this season. Dallas Goedert had a 25-point game against the Rams. So, yeah, I do think Isaiah Likely has a ceiling this week. That's why I would play Isaiah Likely over David Njoku. I honestly think there's a good case for Isaiah Likely over Dalton Kincaid this week, too. Part of the reason I'm nervous about Kincaid, and part of the reason I've been trying to encourage people to sell Kincaid for months now, is Dawson Knox is back, guys. Dawson Knox is returning. That is very, very bad news, I think, for Dalton Kincaid. At least it lowers his floor pretty dramatically. I still think there's a ceiling for Kincaid, especially in Knox's first game back, especially in this spot against the Chiefs that could be really high scoring. But the last time Dawson Knox played, he played a pretty significant role in this offense, guys. He played over half the snaps in every game that he played so far this season. He was taking half of the tight end role at the beginning of the season. We have not seen Dawson Knox since week 7 when he got injured. I really have a lot of concern about Dalton Kincaid with Dawson Knox back. We'll see how much Dawson Knox plays, but this could definitely be something to monitor if you have Dawson Knox. If you have Dalton Kincaid. All right, let's go. Have T-Law. Expect to start with Murray on bye. Would you start T-Law or drop OBJ and pick up Minshew? Also, you'd go Ingram over Kincaid. Yeah, I definitely would play Evan Ingram over Kincaid for a lot of the reasons I just said. All right, let's pull up the QB ranks here, though, because I'm seeing a lot of QB questions. And definitely is an interesting QB week, too. I don't feel great about starting Trevor Lawrence. I got him ranked behind Minshew. I would start Minshew over Lawrence. And, it feels wrong. It doesn't feel right to me to be starting Gardner Minshew over Trevor Lawrence, but I think the process is there. Trevor Lawrence is surprisingly playing today. He had a high ankle sprain, and Trevor Lawrence has not missed a game in his entire career, going all the way back to college and high school. Seems like that's something that he cares about. Let's pull up Minshew here And I think there's even another quarterback you might be able to pick up, like Jake Browning. I think Jake Browning's in play over Trevor Lawrence too. Let me pull him up. He's coming off a very impressive game. Walter actually likes Jake Browning more than both Minshew and Trevor Lawrence. And Jake Browning is coming off a game. He scored more points than Patrick Mahomes last week. He was QB4 last week with 27 points against the Jaguars. And the Colts have not been a great defense. Minshew gets a matchup against the Bengals. They've been not so great either. Minshew has back-to-back games at 15 points. I'd say the ceiling's probably higher for Browning with his weapons than it is for Minshew with his. I expect a big Zach Moss game today, too. I do think you need to be starting Zach Moss pretty much everywhere. Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Kenneth Walker. Man, this is not the question I thought I would be answering here in Week 14 if you asked me 3 months ago. But here we are. And let me pull up the running back tiers and talk through some of these running backs. It is a very interesting week at the running back position. First of all, let's start at the top of the running back list here. Let me take this comment down. I think I addressed this one. We already got to the free player prop of the day. And let's talk through some of these running backs, then I'll get to some of these start sits with the running back specifically. But at the top of the list, guys, I mean, we got someone joining Christian McCaffrey in tier 1 today, and we haven't seen that very much this season in my rankings. Alvin Kamara, though, guys, is locked and loaded as a really, really elite option. There's no Taysom Hill for the Saints today. There is no Rashid Shaheed for the Saints today. No Taysom Hill is a big deal for Alvin Kamara. Taysom Hill was getting about a fourth or even a third of the carries in some games. Huge, huge, huge deal for Alvin Kamara. But on the other end of the top of the tiers here, Bijan Robinson, Corinne Williams, Zach Moss, these guys need to be started in all situations. Devon Achane, he's all the way back. He needs to be started. Saquon needs to be started. Gibbs, Rashad White, and even in a tough matchup. And guys, Austin Eckler needs to be started. I do not understand the full-on panic going on with Austin Eckler. I can sympathize with it a little bit. Yeah, he's been bad for 3 straight games. Sure. There was a report they're going to try to mix Josh Kelly in on the ground a little bit more. But you're not starting Austin Eckler because of his rushing volume. You're starting Austin Eckler because of his touchdown upside and because of his receiving role. And the receiving role should still be there. He's had at least 3 catches in 6 straight games. And his touchdown ceiling is still near the top of the league. I really do not think anyone should be benching Austin Eckler unless you have some really elite options. Guys like Devon Achane, Jahmyr Gibbs, Rashad White, Saquon Barkley, Zach Moss, Corinne Williams. I could get behind starting those guys over Eckler. But if you're getting to the point where you're starting Javonte Williams, Breece Hall, Travis Etienne, Aaron Jones, James Cook over Austin Eckler, I think you're over panicking. You're over panicking on Austin Eckler. All right, now getting to the running backs here, though. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is in play this week. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet are both supposed to be playing. I trust Kenneth Walker more than Zach Charbonnet, but it's hard to know who's at fuller health between the two. Also, we got Geno Smith likely not going to play this week. We got them playing the 49ers. They're 13.5-point underdogs. That's not good for Kenneth Walker, guys. Zach Charbonnet is the better receiving back compared to Kenneth Walker. So I'm pretty torn between the two, and I think benching both of them is probably the move this week against the San Francisco 49ers. I could see a story where the Seattle Seahawks try to run more because Geno Smith is sitting and they don't trust Drew Lock very much. But how long can they really do that when they're down 3 scores in the first half to the San Francisco 49ers? It's just not very realistic. So yeah, I would play Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jerick McKinnon both over Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet this week to answer that start-sit question that sent me down this conversation. Let me pull the wide receiver tiers here, get to some of these running back and wide receiver questions. It's week 14. It's the final week of the fantasy football regular season. We're just getting started on this live stream, guys. Good morning, everyone. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe and follow button if you haven't yet. Seriously, it takes you 3 seconds. I appreciate it a lot. Walker, Eckler, Gibbs, or ETN. Yeah, bench Kenneth Walker there. Bench Kenneth Walker for sure. I don't have a ton of confidence in ETN, but I do think he's a better option than Kenneth Walker this week. Love the app, Sam. Thanks, man. Yeah, guys, the best way you could possibly support me is checking out the Walter Picks app. It is free. If you're watching live on YouTube, it's on the screen right now. This is our free advanced player game logs. If you're watching live on TikTok and I don't get to your start sit question, go to the TikTok bio, download the Walter Picks app. It is free. I saw an interesting question there before I get to this one on the YouTube live about Khalil Shakir or AJ Dillon. I think it's Khalil Shakir pretty easily. Khalil Shakir, one of my favorite sleepers of the week, is actually in the DraftKings lineup I'm going to be sharing momentarily. All right, Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle, Nico Collins, Rashee Rice, Jahmyr Gibbs. Yes, you're starting Diggs. I should see no Steph Diggs questions today. They're playing the Chiefs. He's locked and loaded as a really high-end option. I think Jalen Waddle is in a similar tier there too. I got Jalen Waddle up there in tier 2. Steph Diggs is in tier 1. And then we got Nico, Rasheed, and Gibbs. I think the answer here is Gibbs over Nico Collins and over Rasheed Rice. I do really like Nico Collins this week, despite the weather, despite the matchup. Guys, the Jets have been the #1 defense against receivers this season, and now he's also playing in heavy rain. This is the Texans and the Jets playing in heavy rain and 30-plus mile-an-hour winds today. So that's not good for Nico. But also with Tank Dell out, Nico Collins is getting 10 targets basically every game. I think we can just lock into that. I also think the Texans are a team with C.J. Stroud. They will still try to throw. They're not going to go insanely run heavy in this game unless the wind picks up more than I'm expecting. Rasheed Rice, I like a lot today. But yeah, Gibbs, I think, needs to be started over Nico, over Rasheed Rice. I do think that makes a lot of sense. Garrett Wilson or Sam Laporta at flex. Gosh, I think it's Garrett Wilson. I hate starting 2 tight ends. I'm scared about Garrett Wilson in the weather for sure, though. RBs are stacked. Start 3, Bijan, Corinne, Moss, Saquon. Yeah, so we just had the running backs up, but you bench Saquon here. I think you bench Saquon. You start Corinne and Moss over Saquon. Corinne Williams is going to get 20 touches. Zach Moss is going to get 20 touches. And Bijan Robinson has to be started with the usage he's been seeing. Saquon's in a good spot this week, too. Definitely stacked option there. Puka or Brees for flex? Yeah, with the weather in that game, I'm okay going Brees over Puka, but it's definitely super close. Pittman or Olave? Yeah, both these guys need to be started, but it's Pittman. It's Pittman over Olave. Yeah, for sure, Pittman needs to be started. Pittman's been on an insane tear. All right, we got Cortland Sutton, Devontae Smith, Rasheed Rice. This one's definitely close. I think Sutton needs to be started. We got to pick one here. I think it's going to be Sutton over Rasheed Rice. I do like Rasheed Rice a lot. Rasheed Rice is the free player prop of the day, by the way, over 52.5 receiving yards. I don't hate Sutton's prop today either, though, and yet Sutton. It's Sutton against the Chargers over Rasheed Rice against the Buffalo Bills. Debo or Bijan at flex? No benching Bijan Robinson. Even in a tough matchup against the Bucs, you cannot bench Bijan Robinson. Hey, Sam, should I start Jordan Love over Stroud because of the bad weather? Yeah, you can definitely consider it here. Let me pull up the QB tiers here again, the QB rankings here again on the TikTok Live as well. I do have CJ Stroud one spot ahead of Jordan Love. I'm fine, though, starting Jordan Love over CJ Stroud, especially with the tear that Jordan Love's been on. I know Christian Watson's out. But yeah, with the weather and the matchup here for CJ Stroud, I would look for other options. He is actually on my must-bench list today for that exact reason. I do think finding other options over CJ Stroud makes a lot of sense. Pick one, Taysom Hill, Lockett, Spears, or Mingo. Yeah, so Taysom Hill's out today. I'm pretty down bad in the daily drafts I did. I got a lot of Taysom Hill. I got Taysom Hill in a lot of spots. I posted a video this week about Taysom Hill, how insane he's been on a points per game basis. He's gotten more points per game than Travis Kelce since week 8. Anyways, he's out today, or at least likely expected to be out. I don't think it's officially ruled out yet, but Taysom Hill's likely going to be out. So, yeah, I'd probably go with Spears and Lockett over Mingo. If you're picking one, yeah, go with Tyler Lockett. You got to go Tyler Lockett over Spears and over Mingo. I do think this will be a Spears game, not a Derrick Henry game this week, though. Walter Picks app subscriber here. Thank you, Chris, for subscribing to the Walter Picks app. The best way you can support me is checking out the Walter Picks app and trying out one of the subscriptions as well. Sutton, Devontae Smith, or Rasheed Rice. Yeah, we just got to this here, Chris, and I think the answer here is Sutton, and then Rasheed Rice, and then Devontae Smith. It's super close, though, for sure, between all three of these. Thoughts on Mike Evans today? Yeah, I mean, I couldn't push Mike Evans high enough in the rankings. I got him at wide receiver 14. I'll put the wide receiver tiers here again on the TikTok Live. I got Mike Evans right up there in tier 2 with guys like Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, Michael Pittman, DJ Moore. Mike Evans, guys, has been truly, truly incredible this season. And I think he was one of my biggest misses on my do not draft list. He's at 31 years old. He had like 40% of his fantasy points in 1 week last season in the fantasy football finals in week 17 last year. Somehow he's already over 1,000 receiving yards. He is by far Baker Mayfield's top option. He's had at least 15 points in 4 straight games. He has not gone under 12 points since week 6. He is not a boomer bust option. He is a high floor, high ceiling option every week. And yeah, I feel pretty good about him today in the Dome playing against the Atlanta Falcons, despite a Falcons secondary that's been pretty good this season. Premium subscriber here. Love the app. Thanks, man. Start sit question. Olave, Brees, Saquon, Montgomery. Pick 3. Yeah, so you got to start Olave. With all these injuries for the Saints, Chris Olave needs to be started. We got Chris Olave, I see, on your as your profile picture here too. So you got to be starting Chris Olave for sure. Then Brees, Saquon, Montgomery. Yeah, I think you bench Brees here. You play Saquon. You play Montgomery. I think that makes sense to me. It's between Monty and Brees, though. You definitely got to start Saquon here. For sure. Hey, Sam, start Cup, CEH, or Hall, half PPR. Thanks. Yeah, you gotta start Brees over CEH. CEH he's definitely going to have a role today. With no Isaiah Pacheco. Jerick McKinnon's gonna mix in too. But yeah, you gotta start Brees over these guys. Walter picks up here. Start 3, Moss, Gibbs, Bijan, Corinne. Yeah, this one's close. Let me put the running back tiers here again. I think these guys are all in my top 2 tiers at running back. Yeah, I got Bijan, Corinne, Moss all over Gibbs. So you'd bench Gibbs here. And I think it does make sense. Bijan, Corinne, and Moss, these guys are barely coming off the field. I mean, these guys are almost all definitely going over 20 touches. You just can't say the same thing with Gibbs with Montgomery's role. You need Gibbs to make some big plays for him to really pay off. I still think he's a high-end running back 2 or back-end running back 1. But yeah, I'd play those guys over Jahmyr Gibbs. Tua or Herbert? Yeah, so let me go back to the QB rankings here because I do have Tua one spot ahead of Justin Herbert. I could see both of them being the top quarterback of the week. I think that's kind of the end of the tier that has that within their range of outcomes. They're both in the top 10. I would go Tua over Herbert. The Broncos secondary, Broncos defense has been on fire of late. You can't say the same thing for the Titans defense tomorrow night. Sit 1, Achane, Williams, Eckler, or Mixon. Yeah, so you cannot be benching Devon Achane. And I don't think you should be benching Austin Eckler here either. It's between Mixon and Javonte Williams. And I do have Mixon one spot ahead of Javonte Williams. Super close one there, but I would not bench those other 2 guys. Happy Sunday, Sam, Cook, Mostert, or Hubbard. Pick 2. Yes, we got a lot of Chuba Hubbard questions on Thursday night. I was bracing for a lot of Chuba Hubbard questions today. Let me go back to the running back tiers here on the YouTube live. Let's go to the running back rankings. I do have Chuba Hubbard pretty high up, and I do think he's a solid start. I have Mostert, I feel like, a little low with Achane back. He's probably a better option than Chuba Hubbard. It's back-to-back here in my rankings. I have Chuba Hubbard one spot ahead of Mostert, and then I think I have James Cook. Yeah, all 3 of these guys are right next to each other. I have James Cook, then Chuba Hubbard, then Mostert in my rankings. Walter has it the same exact way. So, yeah, I think you bench Raheem Mostert here. It's not the best matchup for him against the Titans. They are big favorites, the Dolphins over the Titans, so it certainly is close. Kenneth Walker, Jackson Smith-Njigba, or Zay Flowers, full PPR. Yeah, so the Weatherman Sam report here is not great for Zay Flowers. So let me pull this up again really quickly. We got the Texans playing at the New York Jets. Heavy rain and 30-plus mile-an-hour wind gusts. This is by far the worst weather of the day. But a close second in terms of the worst weather today is the Rams at the Ravens. Heavy rain and 25-plus mile-an-hour winds in that game. Not great for Zay Flowers. Though I do think Zay Flowers is one of these guys that can get around a game like this by taking a screen pass or a short dump-off pass or even a rushing attempt to the house. We've seen that from Zay Flowers already this season, so at least he has that going for him. I don't feel good about Kenneth Walker in a game where they're 13.5-point underdog, so I probably would go Kenneth Walker over I would go Zay Flowers over Kenneth Walker, for example. Definitely a close call there, though, Ryan. I think I would bench Kenneth Walker, though, for sure. JSN or Judy? Yeah, I think I would go Judy over JSN. Yeah, JSN was the other option there. I think I would go Zay Flowers over JSN too. Drew Lock starting. JSN, a really wide range of outcomes for sure. Let's actually do that comparison. I think JSN versus Zay Flowers is going to be a close one. Both the wide receiver tiers here as well. I have JSN actually, I think one or 2 spots ahead of Flowers. I think I have Judy ahead of both. Let's do this right now. We got Judy. We got Jackson Smith-Njigba. And we'll go with Zay Flowers as well here. Walter likes Zay Flowers the most. Yeah, I think I would probably lean. I'd probably lean as JSN first. I'd probably go Judy, JSN, then Flowers. Given the weather report, again, this is mainly the weather rationale here with heavy rain and significant winds in that game. Play Love over Lamar? No, do not play Love over Lamar. Let me pull the QB ranks here again. Lamar's absolutely an elite option. Today, he's my number 1 quarterback in tier 2. Dak Prescott, my number one quarterback overall this week. Dak, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen. These are the elite of the elite options at quarterback this week. Then we got Lamar, Mahomes, Purdy, and Fields. All four of those guys are elite options as well. Lamar's rushing kind of nullifies any weather concerns. It's just going to be more rushing from Lamar if they're not able to pass. That could mean 100 rushing yard day from Lamar, well within his range of outcomes today. I think his over-under rushing is like 62 rushing yards. I actually think that might have been Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields over-under rushing day is 62.5 rushing yards. Absolutely insane stuff there for the Fields rushing projection. In a touch situation, I have Olave, Mixon, and Collins, but I only have room to start two. Should I trade Olave and Mixon for Diggs? I would trade Olave and Mixon for Diggs if I had that option. Yeah, I do think Diggs will be good this week. I do like that as a decent move. I would see if you could give Nico Collins instead of Chris Olave. I do like Olave more than Nico Collins this week specifically. But otherwise, yeah, I still think that's a smart move. Steph Diggs is in my top tier of wide receiver this week in tier 1 in a projected shootout against the Chiefs. It's win or go home in my league. Pick one, D-Hop, Aaron Jones, or Ridley, and Everett or Brevin, half PPR. So, Leah, let me go back to the tight end tiers here. I think the other part of this question is much easier. So we got Gerald Everett, Brevin Jordan. I'm going Brevin Jordan over Gerald Everett, even in the bad weather. Brevin Jordan is in a pretty good role here without – Everett gets the Broncos today, though. They have been really bad against tight ends. Let's actually do this comparison in the app because this one actually might be closer than I think. And then, I think it's D-Hop here over Ridley and over Aaron Jones pretty easily. Play DeAndre Hopkins over Aaron Jones. I don't know how we can trust Aaron Jones in his first game back. And then play D-Hop over Ridley as well. I do think that makes sense. All right, Everett and Brevin Jordan. There's no Dalton Schultz again today. Walter likes Everett a lot more than Brevin Jordan. Yeah, it's the matchups here. I mean, both have actually decent matchups. But then you look at the weather, too, for Brevin Jordan. I'm going to change my answer here. I would go Gerald Everett over Brevin Jordan. I disagree with these initial tiers rankings I put together. Olave or Ayuk. Yeah, you got to start Olave. Need this to be locked. Pittman or Collins. Yeah, you have to start Pittman over Collins with the weather in that Texans game for sure. Hey, Sam, hope you're doing great. Hope you're doing great as well. Everybody in this live stream, hope you're doing fantastic. We got a great Sunday ahead of us. Swift, JSN, Cup, or CH, pick one. I mean, Casey, here we are. It's week 14. We're over 3 months in, and Ryan got you the DFS lineup. I'm excited to talk about it today. And we're talking about Swift versus Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think the answer here is Swift. I do. I think it's between these first two. I don't feel great about Cooper Kupp at this point. I hate having Cooper Kupp on my bench. Just feels gross. I think Clyde is in play, but he's definitely a low floor play. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has an extremely wide range of outcomes. McKinnon is going to be the preferred receiving back, and I also won't be surprised at all. I would even say I expect the Chiefs to just lean more pass heavy without Isaiah Pacheco in the lineup. I do think they could just pass more. It's the better part of their offense anyways. And Swift is in what's projected to be one of the highest scoring games of the week. Swift has not been doing great. I do think Kenneth Gainwell is going to continue to eat into his pass game role too. But yeah, I still think Swift's probably the best option here. Then JSN, then CEH, then Cooper Kupp. All right, I got a DraftKings lineup for us today. Before I get to that, Flex, Hall, Walker, Puka, or Garrett Wilson. Yeah, you can't start Kenneth Walker. I think you probably go Breece Hall over Garrett Wilson and Puka Nacua with the weather projection in that game. All right, so I got a DraftKings lineup for us. We did cash on DraftKings last week, and this week we're going with a Justin Fields, DJ Moore stack. We're running it back with Jahmyr Gibbs in that Bears-Lions game. If you play on DraftKings or FanDuel today, guys, you need Alvin Kamara in your lineups. There's just no way around it. There's no Taysom Hill, who is taking a fourth of the carries. There's no Rashid Shaheed. There's an injured Derek Carr. Alvin Kamara could get 10 receptions today. It's well within his range of outcomes. You can't even say that for most wide receivers. So I really like the start of the build here with these first four. Then I'm going with Rashee Rice. He's the free player prop of the day. I do like Rashee Rice a lot in this Bills game, and I'm running it back in that Bills game with Khalil Shakir. And I think Khalil Shakir is the unlock for me on DraftKings today. His role has grown, guys. Khalil Shakir's role has grown a lot, especially since the Bills let go of their offensive coordinator. Khalil Shakir is the locked-in, loaded wide receiver 3 in this offense behind Gabe Davis and Steph Diggs, and there's been games where he even is ahead of Gabe Davis. He's priced way too low in this one. He's playing over 70% of the snaps. He's out there running a route on over 3/4 of the passing plays for the Bills. This game is going to be really high scoring. Steph Diggs is going to get a lot of attention. I do like the ceiling here for Khalil Shakir. The floor is pretty low of course. But the one game we saw Khalil Shakir score a touchdown, he had 20 fantasy points. At tight end, I'm going with Isaiah Likely. I'm a little scared about Isaiah Likely in the weather of that game, but the Rams have been crushed by tight ends. Isaiah Likely's playing the Mark Andrews role. He's priced near minimum price. And then Zach Moss is another guy I'm not having a single lineup without. I think Zach Moss is one of the most underrated players for fantasy football going into this week. I'm not sure there's very many guys more underrated than him. He's not coming off the field. He's priced like he's a running back 2. People are viewing Zach Moss like he's a running back 2. I think he's an elite running back 1. He had 94% of the snaps last week, 19 carries, 2 catches, 21 touches. He's going to hit 20 touches. Guys, this is Zach Moss's floor, and it's a better matchup for him this week, too, against the Bengals than it was against the Tennessee Titans. And then I'm going with the Browns defense to cap it off here against an injured Trevor Lawrence. That's the DraftKings lineup today. If I was going to tweak anything, I'd probably try to move up at tight end here a little bit off of Isaiah Likely, given the weather in that game. But everything else I really like about this lineup. I do wonder about the Justin Fields, DJ Moore stack. If there's a higher upside stack there with some of those more elite quarterbacks, it's just hard to get those higher price QBs in, though, on DraftKings this week. All right, need a flex, Ayuk or Ferguson. Definitely Ayuk over Ferguson. Puka or Mostert. Yeah, I would go Mostert over Puka today, given the weather in the Rams game. What's your player prop today? Yeah, Zane, I got you with the free player prop today. It is Rashee Rice over 52.5 receiving yards. We are 22-9 on the free player props, guys. If you have not been tailing the free player props, there's a reason people come back every live stream asking for the free player prop. It's because we have been on an insane run this season, and Rashee Rice could easily hit this in the first half. I do like this Rashee Rice prop a lot. I would play Rashee Rice over Garrett Wilson. I've seen that one in the TikTok live. Madison or McKinnon? Let me show wide receivers here. Madison versus McKinnon is definitely close. I think I do have McKinnon ahead of Madison. I would argue that the ceiling is better for McKinnon than Madison. Let's do this one actually in the YouTube live. We're going to compare these guys really quick. And Madison does project a bit better. Madison has the better matchup here too. Madison's probably the safer option, and McKinnon's the higher ceiling option. I would play CEH over McKinnon. I don't feel super strongly about that. I have them back-to-back in my rankings. I do think McKinnon is going to have the preferred receiving role, but CEH is the more likely one to score a touchdown, in my opinion. I would go CEH over McKinnon for that reason. Thielen or JSN at flex? Yeah, we can't be starting Thielen anymore, guys. There's just no way around it. You can't start Thielen. I'd start almost everybody over Adam Thielen at this point. His floor is too low. Mike Evans or Devontae Adams? Yeah, I have them both ranked really high. I think I actually maybe left Devontae Adams out of this tier list by accident. But yeah, I think I would go Mike Evans over Devontae. Actually, no, I didn't. Adams is 2 spots ahead of Mike Evans. Let's do this comparison actually in the YouTube live too. I think Devontae Adams over Mike Evans makes some sense. Evans has been on fire, though. I have a feeling Walter's going to like Evans more, and he does. I like Adams more than Evans. Walter likes Evans more than Adams. When I say Walter, by the way, that's the AI model that powers the Walter Picks app that I helped build. And yeah, the ceiling for Devontae Adams is higher. The floor is a little bit lower. The matchup is better, though, for Devontae Adams. So you go Devontae Adams over Mike Evans. It's close. Dobbs or London? I think I would go London. Is the weather worrisome for Ravens or Jets? If so, do I play JSN or Downs over Garrett Wilson? Yeah, so the weather is worrisome for the Ravens and the Jets. The most concerning weather today is the Jets game. Texans at Jets. We got heavy rain in this game, plus wind gusts at 30 miles an hour. I'm way more concerned, by the way, about the wind than I am the rain. But the combination of the two is cause for a little bit of additional concern than just wind. Rain and wind combined with Zach Wilson, not a great combination here for Garrett Wilson. I would look for other options. I'm okay starting Jackson Smith and Jigba over Garrett Wilson for that exact reason. I have bumped Garrett Wilson down in my tiers and rankings, and I think that makes sense to do the same thing for Nico Collins. I do still think Nico is a pretty elite option, though he probably still will get 10 targets in this game. And then the Rams and Ravens. This is the second worst weather game of the day, really the only other game with concerning weather that is reason to bench some of these guys. The Ravens and Rams are in similar weather. Slightly less wind, though, which is good. 25-mile-an-hour wind gusts, better than the 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts in the Jets and Texans game. Also going to be heavy rain throughout the game, though. In that one, do expect a run-heavy game from the Ravens and the Rams. That's good for Corinne, good for Lamar, good for Keaton Mitchell, good for Gus Edwards, bad for Puka Nacua, bad for Cooper Kupp, bad for Zay Flowers and Odell. So yeah, that's the Weatherman Sam report of the day. Eckler, Moss, or Nico. Yeah, it's Moss there. You got to start Moss, start Eckler, bench Nico. Gabe, thanks for sharing the live. I appreciate it. Yeah, if you guys share the live, share the love on the live stream. Appreciate it so much. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in right now. We're just getting started. We're not even 30 minutes in. I feel like the first 40 minutes of this live stream just went past in 4 minutes. I don't know if anyone's been here for the whole 40, but man, it's been going fast. This is how it goes. We're in week 14. We're 14 Sunday morning live streams in, and I'm as locked in as I've been all season, Art. If Gino doesn't play, I don't think Gino's going to play. Let's not do this. If Gino doesn't play, let's just assume Gino's not going to play, and then we can react if it comes out that he's playing. But I would be pretty surprised if he plays. What is the incentive for the Seahawks to force their quarterback out there in a game where they're already 14-point underdogs? I'm sure they don't think about it that way, but man, I would be shocked if Geno Smith played, to be honest. All right. Do I start Garrett Wilson, Jaden Reed, T. Higgins, or Rashee Rice over DK Metcalf? Yeah, so I'm cool starting Rashee Rice over DK Metcalf. I think that's reasonable. I still think DK Metcalf will have a high ceiling with Drew Lock. I don't think Drew Lock's like a nothing at quarterback. I don't have him as my last quarterback ranked today, for example. But yeah, Rashee Rice over Metcalf, I'm cool with. The spot here against the 49ers isn't horrible for Metcalf. I actually think he didn't do great against them. Yeah, he only had 6 points against them last time out, but he still had 9 targets, only 6 points. But yeah, Rashee Rice back-to-back games with over 30% target share. He gets the Bills in what's projected to be a really high-scoring game. I'm cool with that one for sure. Sutton or Rice? Yeah, so I like both these guys a lot. It's a close call here between Sutton and Rice. I think I do have, if I go to the wide receiver tiers here really quick, I do have Rice a couple spots ahead of Sutton. I would go Sutton over Rice. Sorry, I would go Rice over Sutton, excuse me. Kenneth Walker or Devin Singletary? Gosh. Let's look at the running backs again. I got Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet both ahead of Singletary. I don't know how I feel about that, though. Let's pull up Kenneth Walker here. Kenneth Walker, we haven't seen play in several games. His team is 14-point underdogs. They're the biggest underdogs of the day against the San Francisco 49ers. No Geno Smith. Singletary has been playing really well, but Dameon Pierce is back. Walter's got Kenneth Walker projected to do better. Kenneth Walker's had plenty of good games this season. I don't see a good game coming here against the 49ers, though. And then Devin Singletary, he's up against the Jets. Not a horrible spot for him. He only had 5 points in his last game. His snap share plummeted to 47%. He only had 9 touches last game. Go Kenneth Walker. Yeah, go Kenneth Walker over Singletary. I think that makes sense. I think my original ranking here makes sense. Yep, I would play Jaden Reed over Puka Nacua. I don't think that's that unreasonable, given the weather report and the matchup for Puka. Javonte Williams or Eckler? It's Eckler over Javonte Williams. Wide receiver rankings. I got you. The person putting all caps in the TikTok live. Guys, shout out to everybody in this live stream right now. This is something I look forward to all week, and we are just getting started. We're going to talk about every single player, every single game, every single angle of every single game will be discussed on this live. We have multiple hours left. If you're tuned in right now, seriously, I appreciate you. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button. It takes you 2 seconds. It helps me out way more than you realize. Also, the best way you could possibly support me is checking out the Walter Picks app in the iOS and Android app store. It is free, and it is in the YouTube description. It is in the TikTok bio. All right, we got a question here about Puka Nacua or DK Metcalf. Yeah, so I do have DK Metcalf and Puka Nacua. I think in a similar tier here. I got tier 5, Puka Nacua, tier 4, Metcalf. Yeah, it's Metcalf over Puka Nacua, given the weather. All right, love the app, but need your help. I got you. Olave or Rice, and pick 2, White, Corinne Williams, Pollard, or Moss. Yeah, so it's Corinne Williams and it's Moss. It's Corinne Williams and it's Moss. There's very, very few spots I'm going to bench either of these guys. I like Rachaad White a lot. I think I actually have White ranked ahead of Pollard. Pollard's a fine option this week too. But Corinne Williams and Zach Moss are going over 20 touches today. They have to be started. I think that the role for those guys is just too good. And then Olave versus Rice, there's no benching Olave with all these receivers out. All the weapons are out for the Saints. The Saints went into this game. Basically, their entire team was questionable, including their kicker was questionable going into this game. Derek Carr is questionable. He's going to play. Taysom Hill is questionable. He's not going to play. Rashid Shaheed was questionable. He's not going to play. Chris Olave was questionable. He has an illness. He is going to play. Alvin Kamara was the only guy, not questionable. But yeah, I'm okay going Olave over Rice. I do like Rice. And I'm seeing here some more people coming back and asking, what is the free player prop? What is the free player prop of the day? And it is Rashee Rice, over 52.5 receiving yards. Yes, I would still play Chris Olave over him. Chris Olave's prop line, though, I promise you, is not that at 52.5. Rashee Rice has back-to-back games, over 30% target share, shootout coming against the Bills. I would definitely play Rashee Rice over Zay Flowers, Rashee Rice over Keaton Mitchell, seeing that one in the TikTok live. All right, let me pull up the running back tiers here because I'm seeing a lot of running back questions in the TikTok live. Look at the running back rankings in the YouTube live. Talk through some of those. I have Kyren Williams ranked number 4, Zach Moss ranked number 5. So yes, I'd play them both over Rachaad White. I'd play them both over Tony Pollard, who I have in the back half of my top 14 running backs. All right, must-win week. Need your help. Ryan, it is a must-win week this week. We got to get into the fantasy football playoffs. What was all of this for if we are not locked and loaded in the fantasy football playoffs? All right, Nico Collins, Calvin Ridley, Garrett Wilson, Zay Flowers, and JSN. Don't know what to do with the weather. Love the app and the content. Year 4. Ryan, thanks, man. Appreciate you a lot. The weather has really muddied some of these decisions with Nico and Garrett Wilson. I still think Nico Collins probably needs to be started in this one, though. I would start Nico over Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers dealing with some weather. I'd start Nico over Garrett Wilson. I feel better about Nico than Garrett in this game, even though the Jets secondary is better than the Texans secondary. Nico Collins, without Tank Dell in the lineup, I still think he gets at least 10 targets in this game. And guys, the last time out, he had 12. He is 11, 9, and 12. And only one of these games was a game without a lot of Tank Dell. By the way, I don't think we've addressed it on the live, but man, pour one out for Tank Dell. You got your 5'8", 180-pound star wide receiver blocking at the goal line for a QB sneak. It's just, retrospect is tough, but I hope Tank Dell gets back to 100% for next season. Anyways, Nico Collins, yeah, he really does need to be started. This is a scary spot to start him in. He's playing the number 1 defense against receivers. There's going to be 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts and heavy rain, but still, C.J. Stroud's been throwing very aggressively. They've been throwing a lot, and he is the clear top receiver in this game. He's seen an average of 11 targets, 10.5 targets over his last 3. I would start him. And then Calvin Ridley and JSN, I think, are the other 2 options here. I think I'd rank these guys. Nico number 1, JSN number 2, probably Calvin Ridley number 3, Garrett Wilson number 4, Zay Flowers number 5. I'm definitely nervous for Zach Wilson, Garrett Wilson in this spot. You could tell a similar story about Garrett Wilson as I just told for Nico Collins with the 10 targets. It's just a different target he's getting from Zach Wilson than it is from CJ Stroud. All right, there's a very difficult decision there for sure. Singletary or Keaton Mitchell? Yeah, so I do have Singletary and Keaton Mitchell, I think, pretty close together. The answer here is Keaton, though. Yeah, you got to go Keaton over Singletary. Singletary's coming off a horrible game. He played less than half the snaps. Dameon Pierce is back. Not a horrible matchup for Singletary, but yeah, Keaton Mitchell, I think, has a much higher ceiling. Must-win week, Gibbs or Eckler? Yeah, so I think people are over-panicking about Austin Eckler. I understand that Austin Eckler panicked to some extent. He has had 3 straight bad games. He doesn't look the same. He's been less efficient. All of that, I understand. Still, though, I think there's an over-panic going on with Austin Eckler. It actually makes, to me, him an intriguing DraftKings play in tournaments today. I would play Gibbs over Eckler. Walter agrees with me here about playing Gibbs over Eckler. Like, Gibbs is a guy that I'm okay playing over Austin Eckler. I'm okay playing Rachaad White over Austin Eckler, Jahmyr Gibbs over Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley, Devon Achane, Zach Moss, Kyren Williams, Bijan Robinson, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey. Sure, let's play all those guys over Austin Eckler. Where I start to think there's over-panic, though, I'm seeing people ask Austin Eckler or Aaron Jones. No, it's definitely Austin Eckler over Aaron Jones. It's definitely Austin Eckler over James Cook. It's definitely Austin Eckler over Chuba Hubbard, over Raheem Mostert, over DeAndre Swift, Derrick Henry, Keaton Mitchell, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Start Austin Eckler over all of those guys, and it's not particularly close. You got to stop panicking that much. All right, happy Sunday, Sam. Need help. Not benching Brown, Evans, or DJ. Yeah, Alvin, I agree with you here. Need 2 running backs. Gibbs, Javonte, Monty, or Mostert. Lion stack almost cost me last week, LOL. Yeah, you know I like the Lion stack. I definitely advocated for this in the past. I do think Jahmyr Gibbs I like a little bit more than Monty. I believe Jahmyr Gibbs, actually Monty did better than Jahmyr Gibbs in the Bears revenge game last time out. Jahmyr Gibbs had 21 points in that one. And if I pull up Montgomery here for a second, I think he went over 20 points. He didn't. He had 18. So they both went over 15 points last time against the Bears. The Bears are not a super scary run defense. They actually have been much better of late, though, than they have this season. And then you got Javonte and Mostert. Yeah, so I think you for sure got to go Gibbs. I actually have Javonte ahead of Montgomery, and I have Montgomery ahead of Mostert. I would probably go Gibbs and Javonte here, and I'm okay missing out on the stack. Etienne so low because of T-Law. He did well at the end of last week. Yeah, he did. Travis Etienne did do well at the end of last week. He also didn't see his normal workload, 64% of the snaps, only 11 carries for Etienne last week. He was dealing with a rib injury going into that game. He did average 4.1 yards per carry. He did do well. And yeah, he is kind of low, Noah, for me because of the Trevor Lawrence situation. And also just the matchup against the Browns I don't love. They've been not great against running backs of late. The Browns defense has actually taken some big steps back the past month. But yeah, I still kind of worry about Etienne being efficient in the game against the Browns with how he's looked. Very tough. Pacheco is out. I need to play either CEH, McKinnon, Gabe Davis, Drake London, Madison. Yes, I would advocate, I think, for Drake London here over Gabe Davis, over McKinnon, over CEH. Gabe Davis is as boomy and busty as it gets at the wide receiver position. You're either getting 0 or you're getting 20 from Gabe Davis, and that's how it has been this season. Drake London is definitely a boom bust option to some extent as well. I would play Clyde over McKinnon. I have them back-to-back in my running back rankings. It's definitely a close call. But I would play Clyde over McKinnon because I think he's going to be the preferred goal line back. I think McKinnon probably catches more passes. But yeah, Drake London, I think, is the best option here. He gets a good matchup against the Bucs. No weather concerns in this one. They're playing in a dome. Drake London, the clear top receiver for the Falcons. And it's a good matchup for him. He's coming off his worst game of the season since week 1, where he had a donut back in week 1. He had almost a donut last time out. That was against the Jets secondary, though. Much, much, much different matchup here for the Falcons this week against the Buccaneers. So yeah, I'd go Drake London here in a PPR format, especially. I do think Gabe Davis, all these guys are decent options. I would not play Madison, though, either over any of these guys. Maybe Madison over McKinnon makes sense. All right, hey, Sam, non-PPR, must win. Kupp, Lockett, or JSN? JSN's a free agent. Gibbs, Saquon, CEH, pick 2. Yeah, so bench CEH. You're playing Gibbs and Saquon over CEH for sure. Show QB. I got you with the QB tiers on the TikTok live. I think I would go JSN over Lockett. The Seahawks receivers are going to be a complete crapshoot this week with Drew Lock starting. Let's pull this up. Jackson Smith and Jigba versus Lockett. See what Walter thinks. Walter agrees with me about JSN over Lockett. It's super close here for sure. JSN has really started to come into form. Lockett's having one of his worst seasons of his career this year too. He's been a lot less consistent than years past. 11 targets for JSN last game out. Those were all from Geno Smith, though. But I think playing either of these guys over Kupp does make sense, given the weather report and just how Kupp has looked and has performed of late, too. All right, Weatherman Sam. Kicker question. Thanks for the weather, LOL. Hopkins or Bass? Yeah, go Tyler Bass. Go Tyler Bass. Yeah, I play the best tiebreaker for kickers and defenses is look at the spreads and the over-unders of these games. The second highest over-under today is the Bills and Chiefs game. So that's the game you want kickers in. All right, Edwards-Helaire or McKinnon or Kupp? Yeah, here I am. It's week 14. And Cooper Kupp I think I was advocating for him to be the second overall pick or third overall pick in almost every fantasy draft. Cooper Kupp, who averaged the most points per game at the wide receiver position in PPR leagues each of the last 2 years, more than Jamar Chase, more than Justin Jefferson. And I think it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Over Cooper Kupp. Let me do this comparison. I wonder if Walter will disagree with me on this one. And again, part of the reason to be scared about Cooper Kupp this week is not only, has he played bad and been bad for fantasy, he's actually coming off a decent game, 16 points. I think he scored a touchdown for the second time this season, last time out. He was out there 100% of the snaps for the first time since week 8. That was good to see. He did see 8 targets. Like Cooper Kupp has at least some semblance of a ceiling. We saw it last week. Clyde, though, is going to be the starting running back for the Chiefs. And Cooper Kupp's playing a game that's going to have heavy rain and wind gusts up to 25 miles an hour. Yeah, it's Clyde. It's Clyde over Cooper Kupp. It's tough out here, man. Kupp or Ridley? I'd go Ridley over Kupp. Lamar or Purdy? Yeah, that one's close. I do have Lamar 2 spots ahead of Purdy, though. And I think Lamar, even though he's playing in a tough weather game, like Lamar can just pick up the slack in the run game himself. So I'm not too worried about the weather for Lamar. I do think Lamar's still a good start. Purdy's still a good option as well. But yeah, I like Lamar more than Purdy. Moss or Waddle? Yeah, I'm not benching Zach Moss this week. Devon Achane or Rashad White? Yeah, I got Achane 3 spots ahead of White in my rankings. I got the running back rankings up, actually. I'll pull up the wide receiver rankings on the TikTok Live and the YouTube Live. Eckler or Puka at flex? Yeah, it's Eckler over Puka for sure. Puka, Reed, Wilson, Brees. I think Brees over Garrett Wilson does make sense today, given the weather report and the Jets. Again, the weather report for the Jets game is the worst weather of the day. We got 30-plus mile-an-hour wind gusts. We got heavy rain throughout that game. I am concerned about Garrett Wilson, Zach Wilson, and Nico Collins, CJ Stroud. I'm less concerned about Nico than I am Garrett Wilson. But yeah, I think Brees over Garrett Wilson makes sense. I think Reed over Puka makes sense because that game also has bad weather. A tight end lineup. I assume you mean DraftKings lineup here or tight end rankings. Let's go with the tight end rankings. We'll talk through those. I haven't talked through those in a second. Eckler or Monty? Yes, Eckler over Monty. Stop panicking about Austin Eckler. It's okay to panic to some extent about Austin Eckler. He's done bad in the last 3 games, but don't over panic. Would you play Likely even with the forecast? Yes. I still think Isaiah Likely is in play with the forecast. Let's talk about these tight ends. I do think Isaiah Likely is still in play with the forecast because of the role he plays. Like Isaiah Likely can still score a touchdown in this forecast. Callaway is a sleeper. Yeah, I do like that sleeper actually with all the Saints injuries. I also like Khalil Shakir as a sleeper. But you got to bump Isaiah Likely's projection down, I think, at least a little bit with this weather, just like we have done in the Walter Picks app. The Walter Picks app automatically is adjusting for the weather, especially when you see weather reports getting close to the 30-mile-an-hour wind range. Like the Ravens are just going to run more than they're going to pass because of this report. The other tight end I'm nervous about, though, and like I would still play Kincaid over Likely because of the weather, but if it wasn't for the weather, I'd play Likely over Kincaid. I'm very, very nervous about Kincaid. I still think Kincaid has an interesting ceiling. He probably should be started in a lot of people's situations, but the big reason I'm nervous about Dalton Kincaid is Dawson Knox is back this week, guys, and Dawson Knox was playing half of the tight end snaps for the Bills before he was injured. There was a pretty even split here between Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid. I'm looking at it on the YouTube Live right now. Dawson Knox, he averaged 24 routes a game. That's only 6 less than Dalton Kincaid has averaged this season. And a lot of Dalton Kincaid's usage here is coming from games without Dawson Knox. So I think the floor for Kincaid is going to be a lot lower with Dawson Knox playing. I still think today in that game against the Chiefs and Knox being its first game back, Kincaid's still a decent option. But I think the floor is dramatically lower all of a sudden for Dalton Kincaid with Dawson Knox back. Kincaid was not coming off the field. Kincaid was the number 2 receiving option for the Bills over the past month without Dawson Knox, and I'm just not sure we're going to see that type of usage for Kincaid with Dawson Knox back. I do think Dawson Knox is going to vulture a lot of the workload away from Dalton Kincaid for fantasy football purposes. All right, we got a question here from Jacob in the YouTube Live. I got Stroud and Collins in my lineup. Should I change to Fields and Olave because of the bad weather in the Houston game? I love my Stroud-Collins stack. Been riding it for weeks. Yes, Jacob, this has been an elite stack, and it's a stack you're going to want to keep riding in the fantasy football playoffs, but you should pivot off of it today. React to the information that we have. First of all, we know that the Jets secondary has been the number 1 secondary against receivers this season. They're allowing the fewest points per game to receivers this season. The Jets defense is good. Tyreek Hill did well against them. Khalil Shakir had a good game, but the vast majority of receivers have not had huge games. I still think Nico Collins is fine to play today, but I would probably pivot to Chris Olave if I had the option. Do I drop Odell and pick up London? Definitely drop Odell and pick up London. The Jets have been the sixth best defense against quarterbacks this season. We saw Tua only go for 10 points. Desmond Ridder only had 9 points last game. Justin Herbert, he only had 7 points. We've only seen 2 QBs go over 20 points. That was Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. And you have good options here. It's not like you're pivoting to bad options. Justin Fields over under rushing today is 62.5 rushing yards. That is above most running backs in the NFL. And then Chris Olave has no receivers to compete with today too. So yeah, I'm okay pivoting to Fields and Olave here, but definitely hold on to that stack tight for the fantasy football playoffs. Kenneth Walker or Devontae Smith? Yes, Devontae Smith over Kenneth Walker for sure. I don't think this one's very close. I definitely am concerned about Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet today. I'm concerned about Kenneth Walker because the Seahawks are 14-point underdogs. They're going to be losing, and Zach Charbonnet is the preferred receiving back on the Seahawks. He's a better receiving back than Kenneth Walker is. I'm nervous about Zach Charbonnet, though, because Kenneth Walker's back. Purdy or Fields? Yeah, I got Fields ahead of Purdy. It's close, though. Let me pull the QB tiers here on the TikTok live. I'll put the QB rankings here on the YouTube live. Subscribe to Walter Picks. Love the app, Sam. Thanks, man. Who at flex? Montgomery or Rice? Yeah, I think it's Rice. We got a hashtag revenge game, second one of the season here for David Montgomery against his former Bears squad. He did pretty well last time out, scored a touchdown. I think it was actually the game-winning touchdown. He had ended with like 17 points. But guys, the ceiling for Rashee Rice today is so high. It's too high. He's back-to-back games at 30% target share. This is the second highest projected scoring game of the week. It's only a 1-point spread between the Bills and the Chiefs. This is going to be a fun one, guys. And Rashee Rice is the top receiving option behind Travis Kelce for Patrick Mahomes right now. I really think in PPR leagues especially, you got to be starting Rashee Rice. All right, CEH and McKinnon are splitting carries, so should I start CEH still? Yeah, so I do like CEH more than McKinnon, just barely. I have them back-to-back, actually. In my running back rankings, I think CEH is the more likely touchdown scorer. I think McKinnon's probably the guy that gets more catches. CEH is fine to start still, though. Flowers or Ridley? Yeah, I'd go Ridley over Flowers. Breece Hall or CEH, I'd go Breece over CEH. Chuba or CEH, I would go Chuba Hubbard over CEH as well. Dak or Hurst? That can't be the question. There's no way someone's asking Dak Prescott or Hayden Hurst. Maybe you meant Ferguson or Hurst? Oh, Hurts. Maybe you meant Dak or Hurts. Yeah, I would go Dak over Hurts. I think they're both in my tier one at QB, but I have Dak as my number one QB. Let's talk about that game for a second because I feel like we haven't talked about it a lot because there's not that many start-sit questions about the game tonight between the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. But guys, this game has the highest projected scoring over-under of the entire season. 52.5 is what it was set at. I think it's actually down to 51.5 now. We got the Eagles, 3-point underdogs in Dallas. Dak Prescott's over-unders at 300 yards. He's my QB1 this week. Walter has a QB1 this week. The Eagles, guys, their secondary has been absolutely obliterated this season. We got a game in a dome at home. Geno Smith coming off a 31-point game, 334 yards, and 3 TDs against the Philadelphia Eagles. That one was on Thursday night. Sam Howell threw for 300 yards. So they're back-to-back games allowing 300-plus passing yards to Sam Howell and Geno Smith. Enter Dak Prescott, who is near the top, if not at the top. Sorry, this is the Dallas Cowboys defense who are playing against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles defense has been even worse. They allowed 30 points to Brock Purdy. They allowed 40 points to Josh Allen, 28 points the last time they played Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott threw for 374 in that game. Sam Howell had 32 points. They've allowed at least 300 passing yards in 4 of their last 5 games to Brock Purdy, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, and Sam Howell. And now Dak gets them again. Dak has been on an absolute tear. I think he's leading the MVP odds right next to, I think he's actually tied with Brock Purdy. Excuse me. Dak Prescott's had at least 299 passing yards in 5 of his last 6 games. Definitely you're starting Dak, I think, in all situations this week. Start Geno, Minshew, or Brownie. So Geno Smith's not going to play. Probably not going to play. It's not confirmed yet. Bench Geno Smith. I would play Browning over Minshew. It's close. But I think Browning has a higher ceiling, and we saw it last week. Browning played great, guys, last week against a pretty good defense. Diggs, Ayuk, Collins, Rice, Cook, Sutton. Start Diggs. This is a pick 2. We're not asking Stephon Diggs questions here. We're starting Stephon Diggs. You're starting Ayuk as well, and then Collins, Rice, Cook, Sutton. Collins and Rice, it's a super close one. The reason I'm hesitant to say Collins when usually this would be a really easy Collins decision over all these other guys is the weather and the matchup for Nico Collins. I do think Rice over Collins makes sense. I think my rankings, Walter's projections, they're going to disagree. But we have a better matchup here for Rashee Rice. The Jets have been the number 1 defense against receivers. And then on top of that, there's a bad weather report in this Jets game, a pretty concerning one. We got 30-plus mile-an-hour winds and heavy rain in this Texans versus Jets game. That is not good, guys. Not good at all. Rashee Rice or Adam Thielen. This one's not even close. Drop Adam Thielen. Start Rashee Rice. ETN is not that low, bro. Yes, I got ETN extremely low. Part of the reason I have ETN so low is his usage last game was really low. And he actually played okay, especially down the stretch of that game. And he probably will play a little bit more. But guys, ETN only had 11 carries last game. This is now, we've seen him at 11 or fewer carries in 2 of his last 4 games. And now he gets a matchup against the Browns. It's not like his receiving role has been huge. He actually has had 4 catches in back-to-back games. That's where one of his big plays came last time out. The last time ETN had 20 points, though, was week 8. He's done it. He hasn't hit it in 4 straight games. He's actually gotten better and better week over week fantasy points-wise for 4 straight. They're playing the Browns. Trevor Lawrence is injured. Like there's a story there of ETN getting big usage. Maybe I'm a little bit too low on him, but I think the floor is just really low in this game against the Browns. Can we see running back rankings? Yeah, I got you with the running back rankings on the YouTube live. Where's Elliott? So this is the tier rankings for the guys that have not played yet. Pacheco is not playing. Pacheco is out. That's why Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jerick McKinnon are as high as they are. All right, let me pull up the news here, make sure we haven't missed any news since the live stream started. All right, we got the weather report here for today. I think I got let me pull up the Weatherman Sam update here on the YouTube live. There is some weather to be aware of. The two games mostly to be aware of is the Jets and the Texans game. Significant rain, significant wind. Same thing with the Ravens and the Rams game. There's some other weather to call out today. Nothing like super concerning, but still some weather to be aware of. We got some wind, like sustained winds around 15 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour in the Lions and Bears game. That wind is not concerning to me. I don't think it's going to impact too much of the game. Maybe it'll be a little harder to throw like very deep passes. The Jaguars and the Browns. Don't think we're going to see a lot of rain in this one, but there could be some precipitation, and there's going to be winds around 15 miles an hour in that one too. Same thing with the Colts and the Bengals game. No rain in that one, but some light winds. Nothing to be concerned about really other than these two games between the Jets and the Texans and the Ravens and the Rams. Those are the two games to be worried about weather-wise. Olave or Puka? Yeah, it's got to be Olave over Puka with all the weapons out. For the Saints, Olave is an elite option today for sure. We got an Ian Rappaport video out right now saying Austin Eckler is starting, but he's one of 3 running backs to be active, and they'll ride the hot hand. Again, I think people are over-panicking on Austin Eckler. I'm not fully bought into this Austin Eckler panic at all costs thing. I do think Austin Eckler needs to be started still in almost all spots. Downs or Mostert at flex. Yeah, I'd probably go Mostert over Downs at flex. Justin Jefferson is back today. I haven't seen a single Justin Jefferson question. Start Justin Jefferson. Obviously, he slides right back into tier 1 for me. I don't think I have any real concerns, even with the quarterback situation he's coming back to. So I start Jackson or Jordan Love because of the weather. Yeah, so I'm not going to panic about Lamar Jackson because of the weather, because if the Ravens end up throwing less, it's just going to be more rushing for Lamar. CEH or Zach Moss? Got to be Zach Moss. Start Zach Moss for sure. Browns defense or Cowboys defense? Definitely start the Browns defense. That Cowboys-Eagles game is the highest projected scoring game of the season, 51.5 points. You sitting Nico Collins today? Yeah, I do think you can sit Nico. I actually would bump him down this tier list after the report about the weather, and as we talk about that more. I would start the rest of his tier over him. I'm starting Brandon Ayuk, Rashee Rice, Devontae Smith. I'd start even Sutton probably over Nico. I'm not starting Garrett Wilson over Nico, though. And I'm not starting Hopkins, London. None of those guys are starting over Nico. I still think Nico's a good option. But, yeah, with the weather report, I am nervous. Purdy or Tua? Yeah, I do have Purdy ahead of Tua. Liked and sub. Thanks, man. Yeah, guys, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Takes you 2 seconds. If you're watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button. I do appreciate that. Do your thoughts change on Calvin Ridley after T-Law playing today? Yeah, for sure. Trevor Lawrence playing today is good for Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is in play today for sure, especially because there's no Christian Kirk in the lineup anymore. Also, I think half PPR, I'd probably still lean Mostert over Ridley, but it's close. Seeing a question in the TikTok live. Clyde Edwards-Helaire versus Jerick McKinnon. I'll go to the tight end tiers next, but I do have Clyde 1 spot ahead of McKinnon. I do think they'll split the work pretty evenly. I think Clyde's the better bet for a touchdown. I think McKinnon's the better bet for better receiving work, but definitely close just in general. Hey, Sam, Aaron Jones. So I think I missed that last one. Let me go back to this really quick. Puka, Cup, Breece Hall, pick 2. Yeah, bench Cup, play Puka over Cup, play Breece Hall over Cup. Aaron Jones, Cooks, Ridley, and Reed, pick 2. So I have no faith in Aaron Jones in his first game back. So I think it's between these 3 receivers. I do like Jaden Reed with Christian Watson out against the Giants. I don't hate Calvin Ridley, though, with Christian Kirk out and Trevor Lawrence somehow playing. Trevor Lawrence, by the way, absolute warrior. Do not know how he's playing through that injury. He has not missed a game in his entire career, all the way back to high school and college. All right, then we got Brandon Cooks in a potential shootout. The ceiling for Cooks here is definitely really high. But yeah, the answer here is Jaden Reed and then Brandon Cooks over Calvin Ridley. I do think that is reasonable. Brevin Jordan, good for short passes today. Yeah, Brevin Jordan's a fine deep play at tight end for sure. Let me go to the tight end tiers here because seeing some tight end questions pop up here in the TikTok and YouTube lives. I'll put the tight end rankings on the YouTube live as well. And there are some things I would tweak here about the rankings and the tiers. So let me talk through those. The elite of the elite options, still Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce has not been doing great of late, like the last month, last 6 games. I still think he's in a tier of his own, but the gap between those top tiers is shrinking. Hawkinson, Laporte, Kittle. These 3 definitely need to be started in all situations. I would play Evan Ingram over Dalton Kincaid pretty easily. Puka or London? Yeah, I would go London over Puka. We're going to talk about Austin Eckler again in a second. Got some connection issues going on in the TikTok live. We'll get those fixed. But yeah, I do think Brevin Jordan's a sneaky tight end today for sure. Hey, Sam, help me out, please. Pick one to start. Puka, Flowers, Rice. It's Rice. Start Rice. Start Rice over Puka. Start Rice over Flowers. Puka and Flowers playing in a game together that has 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts and heavy rain. Rashee Rice, meanwhile, playing in a clean weather game, projected to be extremely high scoring against the Bills. It's easily Rice here, I think. Good morning, Sam. Purdy or Tua? Yeah, I got Purdy over Tua. It's close, though, for sure. Purdy over Herbert. I do have Purdy over Herbert as well. And then I would go Moss and Gibbs, I think, ahead of Rashee Rice. I'm starting Moss over Rice and Gibbs easily. And then Gibbs versus Rice is pretty close. You're going with, I'm glad I caught that. You're going with Ayuk over Nico now. I think I probably would go Ayuk over Nico. Let's see this one. My fear with the 49ers options today, outside of Christian McCaffrey, is this game's not going to be close. So I feel like the floor is kind of low for Ayuk and Debo. Oh, man, Walter's got Nico just barely ahead of Ayuk. Man, the matchups are not even comparable here, though. Yeah, it's fine. Go Ayuk over Nico with the weather report here. I think that's reasonable. It's definitely close, for sure. All right, we got the weather back up on the TikTok live. Sorry about that for everyone on the TikTok live. So, yeah, I'm nervous about Dalton Kincaid. Pick up Aaron Jones on waivers, just got dropped. Yeah, pick him up. Don't start him, but pick him up for sure. I'm nervous about Dalton Kincaid with Dawson Knox back. Dawson Knox played over half of the snaps every game he played so far this season. He's going to lower the floor dramatically for Dalton Kincaid. Taysom Hill is likely not going to play today, unfortunately. I got him in a lot of leagues. So we're down bad at the tight end position in a lot of spots. Today, we got some tough decisions to make for sure. I think if you don't have someone in these top 3 tiers, just prepare, brace yourself. If you don't have Kelce, Hawkinson, Laporte, Kittle, Ferguson, Kmet, or Ingram, brace yourself for a brutal tight end performance today in your fantasy lineup. If you don't have one of those guys, I like Dallas Goedert in his first game back. I think he's in play. Dallas does have a nice ring to it. We got Kincaid. He's got a good ceiling, at least in a high-scoring game, even with Dawson Knox lowering his floor. I say likely in a bad weather game. I still think his ceiling is okay with playing that Mark Andrews role. David Njoku is in play. Kyle Pitts, Cade Otton, Brevin Jordan. These are some of the other options you can play if you're down bad at tight end like I am. Jordan Addison or Garrett Wilson? Yeah, I think it's Garrett Wilson. Even in the weather, even with Zach Wilson, I think it's still Garrett Wilson here. I think Garrett Wilson will have more volume than Addison with Justin Jefferson back. All right, let's scroll up here. Get back to some of these start sits. Pollard or Chuba Hubbard? Yeah, it's Pollard over Chuba Hubbard for sure. Subbed and liked, helped me out. Hubbard, thanks, man. JSN, Higgins, Cooper, or Dobbs? Pick one. Thanks, Sam. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you all for being tuned in right now. We're talking about every single player, every single game, and we are just getting started. We're not even 2 hours in to the live stream. All right, we got JSN, Higgins, Cooper, or Dobbs. Yeah, you can't start T. Higgins. You can't start Amari Cooper. These are both, I think, must benches this week. So it's JSN or Dobbs. Let's do this one between JSN and Dobbs. We got Drew Lock likely starting in place of Geno Smith, who's injured. Dobbs is definitely an interesting option without Christian Watson. Yeah, it's Dobbs. It's Dobbs against the Giants. He's got a better matchup likely better role, at least a safer role. JSN did have 11 targets last game, but those all came from Geno. And we're not going to see Geno out there today, most likely. Nico, Lockett, or Ridley? Yeah, I'd go Nico over Ridley still. I would go Nico over Lockett also, despite the bad weather and despite the bad matchup. Sutton or Ridley? I'd go Sutton over Ridley as well. ETN, Javonte, DK, Jaden Reed, or Higgins. Pick one here. Yeah, it's Javonte. I'm going Javonte over DK. This is PPR. I think you can consider DK, but I think Javonte is pretty safe here against the Chargers today. I do like his role. Hey, Sam, should I go Rasheed or ETN? And should I play Keaton or Zay Flowers? Finally, Goddard or Kincaid? Yes, I'm going with Goddard over Kincaid, even though it's his first game back. Sorry, I'll get to your comment in the TikTok Live in a second. I'll play Rasheed Rice over Travis Etienne. And I think Keaton Mitchell over Zay Flowers is fine, given the weather report in that game. All right, we got a question here in the TikTok Live and the YouTube Live here about Zach Moss and Austin Eckler. So I want to start Austin Eckler in most spots. I'm not panicking about these Austin Eckler reports. Some of these reports, guys, people over-panic about. And we're getting reports that 3 running backs are active for the Chargers, and they're going to play the hot hand. Austin Eckler is going to start the game. Josh Kelly might get more involved in the run game. I've seen all these same reports you guys have seen. Austin Eckler, guys, is still a top 12 running back option, especially in PPR leagues. He still has some of the highest touchdown ceiling, some of the highest receiving role ceilings in the league. He needs to be started, but not over Zach Moss. I'm not blindly starting Austin Eckler over everybody. I still think he needs to be started in a lot of spots, but not over Zach Moss. I'm starting Zach Moss over basically every single running back this week. So here's some running backs I'd start over Austin Eckler. I'm starting Bijan, Corinne Williams, Zach Moss, Devon Achane, Saquon Gibbs, Rashad White, all over Austin Eckler. That's it, though, other than CMC and Alvin Kamara, of course. I'm starting Austin Eckler over Josh Jacobs, over Mixon, over Javonte, over Pollard, over Brees, over Etienne, over Montgomery, over Aaron Jones. I'm not going to be fully panicked about Austin Eckler. All right, we got a question here from Sawyer in the TikTok Live. Brees Hall, DeAndre Swift, Raheem Mostert, or Jahmyr Gibbs, full PPR. Yeah, this one's Gibbs. It's Gibbs, and then it's probably Hall. It's Gibbs, and then it's Hall/Mostert, then it's Swift. But definitely Gibbs is the best option out of those 4 guys. CMC or A.J. Dillon? Man, I do love the Quadzilla, but I think it's Christian McCaffrey there. Pollard or DK or Javonte at flex, full PPR. I have Javonte and Pollard back-to-back here in full PPR. Like DK can be considered. The Seahawks are 14-point underdogs. They're going to have to throw whether they want to or not. Let's do this comparison. I think I would go Javonte over Pollard. Walter really likes Javonte this week against the Chargers. And then we got Metcalf. Yeah, it's Javonte. Go Javonte over all these guys. Jackson or Love because of weather. Yeah, it's still Jackson. I'm not going to panic too much about Lamar Jackson given the weather report because Lamar will just pick it up with the rushing volume. Like Lamar could easily rush for 100 yards. Do y'all know when he will do TikTok people subscribe? Yeah, that's at the end of the live. So it'll be right around noon, like an hour. We'll go to the TikTok Live only subscriber comments. Make sure I get to all the TikTok Live subscriber comments. I do promise I'll get to all the TikTok Live subscriber comments at the end of the live stream. All right, Flowers or Garrett Wilson? It's Garrett Wilson. It's Garrett Wilson over Zay Flowers. Morning, Sam. Need flex in half PPR Ford, Javonte Williams or Nico. Yeah, it's definitely Javonte here over Ford and over Nico. Javonte Williams is in a good spot this week, guys, against the Chargers. His role has been very consistent. He's getting a decent receiving role. He's getting a lot of rushing volume. He's got a decent touchdown upside. Like, he is the goal line back for sure. Corinne Williams or Mixon? Can we get RB rankings on the YouTube, by the way? I got you with the running back rankings. And yeah, it's Corinne Williams for sure. Corinne Williams, a top 5 running back. He's going to get a lot of work today in a bad weather game. Tough matchup here for Corinne Williams, but he's going to get 20 touches. And he's going to get a decent amount of catches, too, in a game that's going to be hard to push the ball down the field. Can we get wide receiver rankings in the TikTok Live? I got you with the wide receiver rankings in the TikTok Live. Smith or CEH? Yeah, I'm going Devontae Smith over CEH pretty easily. Swift on the over rushing yards, 53.5. I would be careful with that one. Kenneth Gainwell is starting to eat into that workload a little bit, and I do think the Eagles could be playing from behind in this game too. Mostert or Achane? It's Achane over Mostert. Madison or Nico Collins? I'd go Nico over Madison still. I'm playing Purdy over Tua. Seeing that one. What do you think about Austin Eckler? Yeah, so Austin Eckler, guys, I think people are over panicking. And there's been a lot of these spots this year where people start to over panic about players. And don't get me wrong, the floor for Austin Eckler, I mean, we've seen it. He has not been playing great. I still think the ceiling is being overlooked, though, for Austin Eckler. I still think Austin Eckler has some of the highest touchdown ceiling in the league. We have not seen a game where he has scored 2 touchdowns since week 9. His only game this season with 2 touchdowns. The Broncos have not been great against running backs this season. And the other reason I think Austin Eckler, people are over panicking about him, the receiving role is going to be there for Austin Eckler. There's not a running back on the Chargers that is a better receiving back than Austin Eckler, just hands down. So I don't even care that much if they split some of the carries. As long as Austin Eckler is getting the goal line carries and getting the targets, he's going to be a good running back in PPR leagues. I still think that's going to be the case today. And he gets a good matchup here against the Broncos, guys. The Broncos have allowed the most points to running backs this fantasy season. They've been much better of late than they did at the start of the season. That includes a 90-point game from the Dolphins back in week 3 where Achane and Mostert combined for 96 PPR points against the Broncos. And that obviously is skewing the numbers here a bit. But we saw Dameon Pierce have 10 points against them. We saw Alexander Madison and Ty Chandler combined for over 25 points. We saw Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt combined for over 15 points. We saw James Cook and Latavius Murray combined for over 25 points. I don't think 20 points is out of the question here for Austin Eckler today with a touchdown with 3 to 5 catches. I still think Eckler is a fine option. I'm not going to force Eckler into my lineup. Like I still think there's running backs we can start. Braxton wants to know if we should start Jaden Reed or Jerry Jeudy. Packers.Walter picks. Caleb, how we doing, man? Shout out to Braxton. Hope all is going well with you and with Braxton. We got Jaden Reed and Jerry Jeudy. I'm going to do this comparison next in the YouTube live because I think this one's pretty close. I do like Jeudy today. I do think Jeudy has a ceiling for sure. Jaden Reed, though, with Christian Watson out, yeah, you got to go Jaden Reed. It's Jaden Reed. I think I actually have Jeudy. Yeah, I have Jaden Reed one spot ahead of Jeudy here in the tier 6 rankings. And Jaden Reed has been good this season. No Christian Watson. He's locked into, I think, at least 70% of the snaps. He only played 47% of the snaps last game out. He had still 5 targets in that game. He's got at least 5 targets in 4 straight now, which is more than you can say for Jerry Jeudy. And Judy's floor, man, is just so low. Like, I still think the ceiling's there for Jeudy. I won't be shocked if we see the first 100-yard game from Jerry Jeudy this season. But yeah, it's Jaden Reed. It's Jaden Reed. Tight end rankings. Yeah, I'll go to the QB rankings, then the tight end rankings next. Hey, Sam, one more question. Considering the Cowboys-Eagles game likely going to be a high-scoring game, whose defense should I go with, Packers, Lions, or Saints? Yeah, you couldn't go wrong with Packers defense here against Tommy DeVito and the Giants. I would not go with the Lions defense. The Saints defense is fine too. I think the Saints pick one out of the 3. Yeah, Saints versus Packers here. Honestly, probably the Saints. I'd probably go with the Saints against the Panthers. 2 quarterbacks, Lawrence, Ritter, or Flacco. Allen's my other QB. Yeah, I would go Lawrence over Ritter and Flacco. I got my QB rankings up here. I don't have Trevor Lawrence ranked very high this week given the injury. Give me one good reason why I should start Kenneth Walker. I don't have very many good reasons for you about why you should start Kenneth Walker, other than he's done well when he's played. He's the best running back on the Seahawks. But otherwise, like, it's not a good game script here for Kenneth Walker. They're 14-point underdogs, and Zach Charbonnet is the better receiving back. Yeah, let me go to the must-start list. Haven't shown that a lot today, but we'll get there right now on the TikTok Live. All right, Sam, Madison or Brees at running back 2, and Collins or Flowers at flex. Yeah, so I would go Collins over Flowers. It's a tough call here with Collins and a tough matchup in tough weather, but Flowers has tough weather too, and Collins is locked in, guys, for at least 10 targets if the Texans throw the ball at all today. And then Brees versus Madison, it's Brees. It's Brees over Madison. Madison's not a horrible option, but the ceiling is just not the same as it is for Brees. Saints or Packers? Yeah, I'd go Saints over the Packers defense. Bryce, Nico, Javonte. Yeah, I would rank Rice, Nico, Javonte as Rice. Probably Javonte, Rice, Nico. Is Aaron Jones going to play? It does sound like Aaron Jones is going to play, yeah. All right, let's see if there's been any reports injury-wise that we've missed. Don't think so. Isaiah Pacheco not expected to be placed on injured reserve. That's a pretty big deal. Derek Carr is expected to play. Geno Smith is not expected to play. Noah Brown is back. He's expected to play. Joe Flacco is expected to play. Juwan Johnson is expected to play. That is notable because Taysom Hill is not expected to play. Rashid Shaheed is not expected to play. Chris Olave is expected to play. Man, the Saints are dealing with a lot of injuries. Browns, Texans, or Ravens defense. Yeah, it's the Browns. Start the Browns defense. I like the Texans defense too, actually, in that weather game too against the Jets. It's probably the Texans defense actually over the Browns defense. Standard league: Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua, Nico Collins, Breece Hall. Me too. Weather scares me. And your thoughts on Breece Hall? Yes, the weather scares me too. In this Jets game specifically, I am scared about the weather. I think this weather is going to impact the game and the weather. So not only the weather, the thing I'm always most scared about when it comes to the weather is the wind. I cannot overstate how hard it is to throw the ball deep when there's wind over 30 miles an hour. There's a lot of data out there about this. And then on top of that, in this Jets game, we don't just have the 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts. We got rain. And on top of that, we got Zach Wilson involved. I mean, it's a scary situation all around here in the Jets game. Like, we could see a nothing game here from the Jets offense, especially the passing attack. The guy I'm least scared about, though, in that Texans-Jets game is Nico Collins. Puka Nacua is a scary weather game, too, by the way, in the Rams-Ravens game. Not quite as bad as the Jets game, but still, like, pretty close to as bad. 25-mile-an-hour wind gusts, similar type of rain. These games aren't that far away from each other, like location-wise and weather-wise. So, yeah, I'd go Breece over all these guys. I think Breece over Garrett Wilson, over Puka, over Nico, because he's going to be the least affected by this weather. A lot of dump-off passes for Breece I could see happening as well. So I would probably rank these guys as Breece, then Nico, then Garrett Wilson, then Puka. Or then Puka, then Garrett Wilson. I'd probably put Garrett Wilson last. Sutton or Rice? Yeah, I got Rice over Sutton. I like both a lot today for sure, though. Let me go to the wide receiver. Let's go to the running back tiers here. Is Sutton a good start of flex? Yeah, I do like Sutton. I do like Sutton over Flowers. I would play Rashee Rice over Sutton. Thanks, man. Yeah, guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. We're so close to 13,000 YouTube subscribers. That'll be an exciting milestone. If you're watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button. I do really appreciate it. I am playing Jake Browning over Trevor Lawrence today, and I do not feel good about it. Start Bijan over Eckler. Yep, we're starting Bijan over Eckler. I am not in full panic mode over Austin Eckler, and I don't think you should be either, but there's plenty of running backs I will still start over him today, like Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Bijan Robinson, Corinne Williams, Zach Moss, Devon Achane, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, Rashad White. I'm starting all those guys over Austin Eckler, but I'm not going to panic to the point with Austin Eckler where I'm starting guys like Breece over him, starting guys like Travis Etienne, David Montgomery, Aaron Jones, who is likely to play today for the first time in a while, James Cook, Chuba Hubbard, Mostert. None of those guys I'm starting over Austin Eckler. All right. Monty, Pollard, James Cook, or Devonta. Yeah, this one's probably Pollard. I think I'd probably go Pollard. It's Pollard or Devontae Smith. You want pieces of that Eagles-Cowboys game. Dallas Goedert is back. I would argue Devontae Smith's ceiling is higher, but Pollard's floor is higher. So do you want to go for the ceiling? Do you want to go for the floor? That's up to you. But I usually go for the ceiling. So actually I'm going to change my answer. I'm going to go Devontae Smith over Tony Pollard. But it's close for sure. Love or Fields? It's Fields over Love easily. Justin Fields over under rushing yards today is 62.5. Guys, that is in running back territory, not quarterback territory. Fields could legitimately rush for 100 yards today. Nobody would blink an eye. Texans, Vikings, Falcons, Dolphins defense. Yeah, start the Texans defense, guys. The Texans defense gets Zach Wilson in 30-mile-an-hour wind and heavy rain. Start the Texans defense for sure. Montgomery or Mixon in PPR? Yeah, I got Mixon ahead of Montgomery just barely by a few spots today. It's not by a lot, but I do think Mixon is in a good spot. Mixon has been playing well. Chase Brown starting to eat into that role like a little bit concerning there, but otherwise Mixon has been playing great. Montgomery's in a good spot this week too, but I still think Mixon is a slightly better option than David Montgomery. Let's pull this comparison up. Yeah, Walter agrees with this one. Yeah, it's just a better matchup here. Good matchup with him against the Colts. Pull the wide receiver rankings. I've seen some people ask for the wide receiver tiers too on the TikTok live. I do like CEH just a little bit more than McKinnon. Eckler, tier 3 with him splitting carries. Yeah, so this is the thing. And we've seen this at times this season. I don't have the exact examples in front of me here. We've seen this at times this season. Actually, remember, there was one with the Patriots way back early in the season where they said Ezekiel Elliott was going to see this huge role. There's some of these reports, guys, from even guys like Ian Rappaport. These are just reports. Like, we don't know for sure Eckler's really going to be splitting carries. I think Eckler probably gets his normal 10 to 15 carries, but he's going to get the high-value touches in the red zone near the goal line, and he's going to have a significant receiving role still. I'm not fully panicked on Eckler. I still think Eckler can be started pretty confidently in a lot of spots. I have ETN pretty low. A lot of people have commented on how low I have ETN in the rankings, and ETN in 2 of his last 4 games, so half of his last month, he's had less than 12 carries in those games. All right, we'll go to QBs and tight ends next. Seeing some questions about that. Was start Adams, Saquon, Eckler at flex full PPR. Yes, this one I'm fine benching Eckler here. I would start Adams and Saquon over Eckler. I'd probably start Adams over Saquon also in full PPR. Adams is in a good spot this week against the Vikings. All right, let's go to the QB tiers, and then we'll go to the tight end tiers next. Pull the QB rankings here on the YouTube Live as well. If I don't get to your start sit question, guys, I've already gotten to thousands of start sit questions on this live. We're going to get to thousands more before the live stream ends. If I don't get to it, though, go to the Walter Picks app. It's free. It can answer all of your start sit questions. It's the best place to go for fantasy and betting advice and to support me. It's in the TikTok bio. It's in the YouTube description. Check out the Walter Picks app if you have not yet. Seriously, I appreciate you so much for doing that. Let's go to the tight end tiers next here in the TikTok live. Zach Moss not playing well. Why so high? Yes, so Zach Moss didn't have a great game last week, but I chase the touches more than I chase the efficiency. This is just how I approach the game of fantasy football a little bit. But Zach Moss, guys, he's going to have the highest snap percentage of the entire week. He came off the field for like 2 plays last week, 94% of the snaps. He saw 100% of the touches in the backfield. Zach Moss is going over 20 touches. It's the same thing with Kyren Williams, why I have them both ranked in the top 5 at the running back position is they are not coming off the field. They are getting so much work that I think they are elite running back ones, Zach Moss included. Zach Moss also ran a route on over half of the dropbacks for the Colts. So it's not like he's just a running back. He only had 2 catches, but that type of usage in the route participation to me signals a much higher ceiling in the rushing game. In the receiving game. Hey, Sam, longtime fan here. Big question, must-win game this week. Carlos, man, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being a longtime fan, guys. Shout out to all of you, whether you've been a fan for the last 10 seconds or the last 3 years. Seriously, I appreciate you all so much. All right, this week to make the playoffs, we got Keaton Mitchell or McKinnon. Yeah, Carlos, this is a close one, man. This is a very, very close one. We got Keaton Mitchell going off against the Rams. We got bro just yapping. He has no idea what he's saying. Classic comment there. Thoughts on Montgomery this week, Monty or White? Yeah, I think I would probably go White over Monty. I'll talk about him in a second. But let's talk about this Keaton Mitchell versus McKinnon one now. I think I probably would go Keaton Mitchell over McKinnon. I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire a little bit more than I like McKinnon. Let me go to the list here. Oops. And then we'll go to I think I saw someone ask for the receiver tiers on TikTok. We'll get to that next. But yeah, Keaton Mitchell's usage has been increasing. We got a game here between the Ravens and the Rams too that's going to have wind gusts up to 25 miles an hour and significant rain as well. That's probably good news for Keaton Mitchell, Keaton Mitchell's averaged over 7 yards a carry in 3 of his 4 games. And now this is small, like a small sample size, but this is like I've been saying this for a few weeks now. He's got Devon Achane type vibes to him, Keaton Mitchell. He's got that speed that he can take to the house any given play. He has not scored a touchdown in his last couple of games. Not the best matchup here against the Rams. Jerick McKinnon, I think, will probably get more receiving work. We haven't seen McKinnon really play in quite some time. He's been out for a little while. He has not had very many big games this season. This game should be high scoring against the Bills, but Clyde, I think, is the better bet for the goal line carries. So yeah, I think I'd go Keaton over McKinnon. It's definitely close though, especially in PPR. I would play Keaton versus Kincaid, but I'm seeing this tight end 1.5 premium. Yeah, I think Adam, it's fine going Kincaid over Keaton if you get a tight end premium bonus there. Evans or Achane? It's Evans. So yeah, start Mike Evans. I do like Achane a lot too. Devontae Smith or Rashee Rice. Yeah, let me put the wide receiver tiers here. I do like Rashee Rice a lot this week. I do have him one spot ahead of Devontae Smith. Back-to-back weeks where Rashee Rice has had at least a 30% target share. Back-to-back weeks. It's part of the reason we got Rashee Rice as the player prop of the day, over 52.5 receiving yards for Rashee Rice. Lock this one in. I do like that prop a lot today. Brock Purdy or CJ Stroud? Got to be Brock. CJ Stroud gets the Jets in a windy, rainy game today. Purdy or Tua? Yes, Purdy for me over Tua. All right, let's talk about, we got Debo or Olave. You got to go Olave. Have to play Olave with all the injuries for the Saints. And I'm kind of scared for the floor of Debo and Ayuk. I think they both should be started in a lot of spots still, but the game's not going to be close. I think it could be a really run-heavy game script here for the 49ers. Sam, I have Stroud in both leagues, and Love and Wilson is backup in each. With the weather, what do you think? Yeah, with the weather, Rodney, I'm going Love and Wilson over Stroud. I think you bench Stroud where you can this week. I do think I would look for other options given not only the weather, but the matchup too. Like the Jets secondary is good. No Tank Dell, Jets secondary, 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and heavy rain. This is the week to bench CJ Stroud. He's been great, but it's definitely the week to bench him. I do think Noah Brown is a good sleeper today, Noah. Noah Bruno asking about Noah Brown, not too far off name-wise there. But yeah, I do think he's a good sleeper, but for the weather reasons, I have concerns about him too. Evans or Pittman, yeah, there's no benching Pittman. Pittman is almost in that tier 1. I mean, Pittman, you could argue, is in that tier 1, really. He has been so incredibly consistent every single week. The targets are there for Michael Pittman. He gets a fine matchup here against the Bengals this week. Man, look at these target numbers for Michael Pittman. He's had at least 8 targets in 5 straight games now. He's had at least 12 targets in 4 of his last 5. This is Michael Pittman we're talking about here. He is an elite high-floor PPR play. No rain in Jersey. No rain yet in Jersey, Michael. I don't care if it's raining right now. I don't. What I care about is if it's going to be raining and how much it's going to be raining at 1 o'clock, 2 hours from now, and then throughout the game, 3, 4, 5 hours from now. But even more so than the rain, I care about the wind. Is it windy in Jersey? Because that's what I'd be more concerned about. I do trust these weather reports that I'm reading, though. Cooper, Madison, or Reed? Yeah, I would probably go Reed, then Madison, then Cooper. I'd probably go Reed, then Madison, then Cooper. That's on ETN versus Bijan. Yeah, I like Bijan like significantly more than ETN today. I have ETN ranked pretty low. A lot of people have commented on the TikTok live. I got ETN down pretty low, guys. He's in tier 5, down there with Brees, Montgomery, and Aaron Jones, and James Cook, and Chuba Hubbard, and Raheem Mostert. And part of the reason I got ETN low is he hasn't been doing very good. The last time ETN scored over 20 points was over a month ago, and he had only 11 carries last game. He's dealing with a rib injury. I do think we could see closer to 14, 15, 16 carries for him today, very much in reach. I wouldn't be shocked to see the Jaguars lean a little bit more heavy on the run, too, with the Trevor Lawrence injury. But he's playing the Browns. Not a good spot for him against the Browns. And the usage has just been a little bit disappointing for Travis Etienne. I don't think his ceiling is quite as high as it had been in the past for Etienne. And I think Bijan, his usage has been super encouraging of late. It seems like he's starting to become the workhorse running back we wanted him to be when we drafted him in the first round for the Atlanta Falcons. Bijan Robinson played 76% of the snaps. He's now over 70% of the snaps in 3 of his last 5 games, over 60% in all 5 of those. He had 18 carries last week. That was this 3rd most of the season. And the receiving usage, guys, the receiving usage all season is why Bijan has been locked and loaded in fantasy. Same thing goes for Jahmyr Gibbs. He had 70% of the routes out of the backfield for the Falcons last week. That is an elite number for Bijan for sure. Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle? Yeah, go Waddle. Sleeper tight end. Yeah, the sleeper tight ends today, Isaiah Likely, Brevin Jordan is a sleeper tight end as well for sure with Dalton Schultz out again. Hey, for running back and flex, PPR, Achane, Pollard, Monty, Bijan, Olave. So you got to start Achane, you got to start Bijan. Yeah, it's Achane and Bijan here. Olave is definitely in play. I play definitely Achane, Bijan, Olave over Pollard and Monty, though, for sure. Evan Ingram, Kincaid, or Likely. So let me pull up the tight end tiers here because it's Evan Ingram. It's Evan Ingram over Kincaid and Likely. Let me pull up the tight end rankings here on the YouTube live, too. Kincaid is definitely a risky play with Dawson Knox back. And I say this is like the least risky game to play Kincaid because it's going to be a high-scoring game against the Chiefs, and it's Dawson Knox's first game back. But in general, guys, Kincaid is on the downwards trend pretty clearly. Dawson Knox played over half of the snaps in all of his games where he was healthy this season. Dawson Knox was playing ahead of Kincaid to start the season. And Kincaid's been great. Kincaid is better than Dawson Knox. I'm certainly bought into that idea, but I still think Dawson Knox returning and having a role is likely, and it's likely going to really decrease the floor for Kincaid. I still think the ceiling's fine today, but Evan Ingram, guys, Evan Ingram has been about as consistent as it gets when it comes to the tight end position. I do think Evan Ingram is a high floor start. QB rankings. I got you the QB rankings. Goddard or Kincaid? Yeah, I'd go Goddard over Kincaid. I play Purdy over Love as well. I'd play Brock Purdy over Jordan Love. I'll pull the QB rankings here on the YouTube live as well. I need 2 between Aaron Jones, Saquon, Zach Moss, and Achane. So this is Michael. This is a good spot to be in. Bench Aaron Jones. Start Zach Moss. And then Achane versus Saquon is close. I think I probably would go Achane over Saquon. Yeah, I would. I got Moss, Achane, Saquon, 5, 6, 7 in my running back rankings this week. I play them all over. I play Moss and Achane over Saquon. Definitely a close call here, though. Puka or Kupp? Yeah, I'm going Puka over Kupp 4th seed. It's a must win. Clyde or Brandon Cooks? I'd go Brandon Cooks over Clyde. Why is Trevor Lawrence so low? He's dealing with injuries. Why is CJ Stroud so low? CJ Stroud gets a matchup against the Jets today in a game projected for 30-mile-an-hour winds and heavy rain. Definitely very nervous for CJ Stroud. What do you think about Jay Jettis? Yeah, I'm pumped for Justin Jefferson. His prop line has moved all the way from 65.5 to 75.5 in a matter of hours. And I still think he goes over 75.5. Justin Jefferson is back. He's fully healthy. I'm excited to see him back. Sam, the man. Thoughts on starting Drake London or Noah Brown for flex with Noah Brown playing without Tank or Schultz? Yep, I'm still going Drake London here because of the weather and the matchup here against the Jets. I think it makes sense to go Drake London over Noah Brown. Drake London has a good spot here in a dome against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers secondary that's been horrible. Brees over Swift, I think pretty easily. Wide receivers, let me pull up the wide receiver tiers here for people on the TikTok live. Kupp or Jake Ferguson for flex? Yeah, you got to go Kupp over Ferguson. Hall or Flowers in a half PPR league? Yeah, it's Hall. With the weather in both these games, it's Hall over Flowers, especially because this is not PPR. And the player prop of the day, I got you with the player prop of the day, guys. We are a ridiculous 22-9 on the free player prop. This is not a joke. This is not a drill. This is why people are coming back and asking about the free player prop. And today, the free player prop is Rashee Rice over 52.5 receiving yards. At the start of this live stream, you could get this as low as 50.5 in some places. Rashee Rice has back-to-back games at a 30% target share or above. He now is in the second highest projected scoring game of the week against the Buffalo Bills. Rashee Rice has set a career high in snap percentage in back-to-back weeks. He's clearly the best receiver that the Kansas City Chiefs have, and they're setting this line at 52.5. He can beat this line in a single half of football today. He could beat this line realistically in just a few drives. I do really like this one, Rashee Rice, over 52.5 receiving yards. We're 22-9 on the free player props this season, guys. It is hard to get better than that. Lock this one in for sure. That's the free player prop of the day. Hopefully, guys, will tail. As always, too, if you haven't deposited on Sleeper yet, guys, Sleeper is actually matching deposits right now up to $500. So you deposit $500 on Sleeper, you will get a 100% deposit match if you use the code Walter when you sign up. I do appreciate it if you could do that. Good way to support the brand. All right, Ridley, Davis, or Reed. Who do I sit? Yes, you sit Ridley or Davis here. Probably Ridley. I think you probably sit Ridley. Let me go to the wide receiver tiers here, actually. Ridley versus Gabe Davis. Yeah, bench Ridley. I would play Gabe Davis over Ridley. It's a close call for sure. Sutton or Kupp. Yeah, it's Sutton over Kupp. It feels weird, but it's Sutton over Kupp. I would play Javonte over Pollard here. Likely or Kraft. Yeah, I would go likely. Yeah, Michael, I worry about two in the bad weather also here, but Kraft is not, by any means, Kraft is not a safe play. Clyde versus Kenneth Walker. I think I do have Clyde over Kenneth. Please put Godwin in tier 7. Let me go back to the wide receiver. I'm in the wide receiver tiers here. Yeah, I got Godwin in tier 6. You could definitely argue him in tier 7. The part of the reason I have Godwin in tier 6 and not tier 7, where he probably should be, is Chris Godwin. I'm buying into the squeaky wheel narrative here a bit, where he's complaining about his usage. His girlfriend's wife or whatever is complaining about his usage. Like I think that they're going to kind of force the ball to Chris Godwin a little bit more than usual. I'm buying into that narrative a little bit this week, even though he's been pretty bad. He deserves to be in tier 7. I got him in tier 6 though for narrative reasons this week. All right, let me put the running back rankings because Clyde versus Kenneth Walker is a really tough choice. I do have Clyde in tier 6. I got Kenneth in tier 6, and yeah, I would go Clyde over Kenneth. I'm definitely nervous for Kenneth Walker for sure in a game where the Seahawks are 14-point underdogs, in a game where the 49ers run defense is much better than the 49ers pass defense, and in a game where Zach Charbonnet's also active and Zach Charbonnet is a better receiving back than Kenneth Walker. Like there's definitely a path here where Kenneth Walker is just a complete bust this week. And Clyde at least should get at least 10 touches in a game that should be high scoring and has a good chance at a touchdown. All right. Non-PPR here. Puka, Kupp, Brees Hall. Yeah, it's Puka and Brees Hall here. Over Cooper Kupp, especially in a non-PPR league. I would play David Montgomery over Chuba Hubbard. I'd play Javonte over Brees. I'd play Olave and Devontae Smith over Garrett Wilson. Rashad White or Olave for flex is close. Yeah, I'm high on Achane just because he has not had a bad game. Achane has not had a bad game where he was finished the game healthy. Not a single one. He's been at like 20 points every single one of the games. So the ceiling and the floor for Achane is truly elite. No matter what the matchup is, he's likely going to score a touchdown. He's likely going to be involved in the run and receiving game. There's just not that many options like Achane in fantasy. Rachaad White versus Olave. Let's do this comparison because both these guys are really, really elite options today for sure. Olave versus Rachaad White. Yeah, it's White. It's White over Olave. Definitely really close. If you request to join the speaker on the live, I might be able to do that. Missed that one, though. That was just request. Must win to make the playoffs. Need to start in PPR. Jones, CEH, Walker, Addison, Flowers, Rice, pick 3. If anyone wants to come up on stage on TikTok and ask the question, feel free to do that. Yeah, so you got to go Rashee Rice here for sure. I think you got to go Clyde here also. I don't think I've told a single person to start Aaron Jones today. Let's read the latest on Jones. It's definitely scary to start him in his first game back. He was limited on Thursday. He's playing tomorrow night. Let's see what Walter thinks about this one. I think the answer here is going to be Jones. Flowers in Addison. I would not start Kenneth Walker. Yeah, it's Jones. You go Aaron Jones over Addison and over Flowers. Go to wide receiver. I got you with the receivers. Browning or Goff. I think I would go Goff over Browning. Clyde or Aaron Jones. Oh, gosh. Yeah, I think it's Aaron Jones over Clyde. Yeah, it's Aaron Jones over Clyde. I'd play Kmet over Kincaid. Ferguson or Kittle. It's close. I would go Kittle, though. Hope you're well. Thanks, Ashley. Hope you're well, too. Flowers or Charbonnet in a flex half PPR. Yes, Flowers over Charbonnet. Kenneth Walker is playing today. That's really bad news for Zach Charbonnet. I would go Flowers, even though Flowers has a tough weather game. Thanks for the gifts. Martin G, appreciate you, man. Pick 3, Nico, Wilson, Swift, or Reed. Yeah, so I think I'm scared about this weather in the Jets game. I still think I'd probably bench Swift here and play these 3 receivers, especially if that's a PPR league. Ford, Henry, Walker, who do I sit? I think you bench Kenneth. I think you play Derrick Henry over Walker. Sorry, I think you play Derrick Henry over Kenneth Walker. I don't feel good about Derrick Henry at all this week. I still think I'd play him over Kenneth. Can you go to running backs? Yeah, I'll go to running backs. I'll go to tight ends next. Martin G, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Hey, Sam, T-Law or Browning? Yeah, gosh, I think I do have – I'll pull up my QB tiers here again on the YouTube Live. I think I do have Browning ahead of Trevor Lawrence. Don't feel great about that. But Browning coming off a huge game. They played each other in their last game. Trevor Lawrence is not going to be able to be very mobile today. I do worry about the Jaguars just leaning more on the run because of that. It's Browning. It's Browning over Trevor Lawrence today. Lawrence or Dobbs, it's Dobbs over Lawrence. Olave or Nico Collins, it's got to be Olave over Nico Collins. With the weather in the Texans game, it's got to be the move. Hey, Sam. Sam here. How's it going, Sam? Sam here as well. Goddard or Likely PPR? Yeah, it's Goddard over Likely. It would have been Likely, I think, over Goddard if there wasn't this weather report in the Ravens game. Goddard, we got Sam and Sam here. We got Dallas in Dallas here today. I think it's Goddard in his first game back in what's projected to be the highest scoring game of the week too. Like I do like that as a tiebreaker. I don't have defense rankings for you, but play the teams that are projected to score the most. Win by the most according to the spread. That means the best defenses today and this week, rest of week, are the Ravens defense, elite option. The Saints defense, elite option. The 49ers defense is an elite option. The Dolphins defense is an elite option. Those are probably my favorite defenses of the day. I do like the Packers defense against the Giants too. They're also an elite option. Those are some of my favorite defenses of the week. Herbert or Jordan Love? Yeah, I'll go to the QB tiers here, and then we'll get to the tight end tiers on the TikTok Live as well. I think DK Metcalf's fine, even though Geno's not playing, but he's definitely a little bit of a downgrade. Yeah, so I have Herbert ahead of Jordan Love. I would play Herbert over Love as much as Love has been cooking. Let's pull up this comparison too, because I think Jordan Love is definitely in play. By the way, guys, shout out to all of you in this live stream. We got like about an hour left in the live, and it always starts to hit me, at this time of the year. If you don't stop and look around, and every once in a while, you might miss it. But we're at week 14 of the fantasy season. Everybody enjoy these last moments of the fantasy football season, because it's going to be a long off season till we get the fantasy football season back. But this is what it's all about, guys. We need to win to get into the fantasy football playoffs. We got to extend the season as long as possible. I will talk about this one quickly. Hall, Hop, CH. Yeah, I think it's D-Hop here, then Hall, then CEH. I think I would go D-Hop over Hall and CEH. We got a lot of situations today. We got a must-win game to get into the fantasy football playoffs, and we got to get in. That's the bottom line, is we got to get in. And Thielen, D-Hop, Judy, Flowers. Yeah, so get Thielen out of here, guys. As good as Thielen has been at points this season, we can't be starting Adam Thielen at this point. Yeah, wow, this one's close between Herbert and Love. It's Herbert over Love. I'm not benching Herbert at this point of the season, even in a somewhat tough matchup here against the Broncos defense that's been pretty hot of late. But yeah, Adam Thielen, it's been a tale of two seasons here for Thielen when you really compare before versus after the bye. He was on absolute fire before the bye. After the bye, he's had 4 of his last 5 games have been at 10.5 points or less. No games at over 20 points since week 6. So yeah, this one, get Thielen out of here. It's between D-Hop, Judy, and Flowers. And I think I'd go D-Hop and Judy over Flowers, given the weather report in that Ravens game. Get into the playoffs with D-Hop and Judy. All right. Start 2, HN, Corinne, Gibbs, White, ETN, full PPR. Love the app. Thanks, man. Yeah, guys, the best way you can possibly support me is checking the Walter Picks app. It is free in the TikTok bio. It is free in the YouTube description. Do appreciate everyone that's checked out the app. And by the way, one of the best ways you can support me too without spending a single dollar, tossing the Walter Picks app a 5-star review in the iOS and Android app stores helps us out a ton, way more than you could ever realize. All right, HN, Corinne, Gibbs. Yeah, so you're starting Corinne for sure. You only have one other start here, and then, yeah, it's HN. I'm starting HN over Gibbs. Let's pull up the game logs here for HN just to remind ourselves why I have HN so high. Let me pull up the running back rankings again. I would play Jacobs over Brees. It's close, but yeah, I would play Jacobs over Brees. Let's pull up these HN game logs. He's running back 6 in the Walter Picks app. It's like every full game he's played, he has at least 20 points. He got hurt in his week 5 game. He still had 21 points. Last week, first healthy game since week 5, he had 25 points. 17 carries for HN last time out. They're 14-point favorites in this game, the Dolphins. HN needs to be started. Absolutely needs to be started. Good morning, Sam. Big day. Taysom Hill or Ferguson? Taysom Hill is out today, Hector. Get Taysom Hill out of your lineups for that reason. He is likely not playing. It is not a great situation here for Taysom Hill. Hopkins, Puka, Jacobs at flex, full PPR. Yeah, this one's Josh Jacobs. It's Hopkins or Jacobs, but it's close. I think you got to go Jacobs, though, with the volume he's seeing. Sam, can't believe I'm even asking, but pick 2. Zay, Rashid, Jaden Reed, Eckler, PPR. Cannot afford another 4-point Eckler day. Otherwise, also, do we have DFS? Yeah, Zach, I got you the DFS lineup coming up here in a second. And Zach, I don't think you're crazy for asking. I definitely think you need to start Rashid Rice here. And then Jaden Reed versus Eckler is close. I'm not playing Zay Jones or Zay Flowers over Jaden Reed or over Austin Eckler, especially with the weather report in that game. But we're going to pull this one up, and I don't think it's going to be particularly close. I think you do need to start Austin Eckler here. A little closer, honestly, than I expected. I'm not over panicking about Austin Eckler, okay? Like, I'm not starting Austin Eckler. I'm not benching Austin Eckler for Clyde Edwards-Helaire in week 14. I'm not benching Austin Eckler for Derrick Henry in a game where the Titans are 14-point underdogs. I still think Eckler, don't over panic on him. Like, I would start Rashad White, Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, Devon Achane, Zach Moss, Corinne Williams, Bijan Robinson. I start all those guys over Austin Eckler, but I'm not going to start guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, guys like Jaden Reed, guys like Derrick Henry over Austin Eckler. I get being scared about him, but he still has an elite touchdown ceiling. He still has an elite receiving role. I think people are over panicking just a little bit. All right, and let me pull the DraftKings lineup because I know that was just asked about. I do really like where this DraftKings lineup, where the core of this DraftKings lineup is at. So let me talk through it. I'm stacking Justin Fields with DJ Moore, and then I'm running it back with Jahmyr Gibbs in that Bears and Lions game. Jahmyr Gibbs had 25 points last time up against the Bears. I think Fields can have a huge rushing day today. His over-under rushing is 62.5, and just a couple big passes with DJ Moore in what could be a high-scoring game here. I am not playing a single lineup without Alvin Kamara today. I don't think you should either. Alvin Kamara is the stone cold nuts on DraftKings today. He needs to be started for sure. There's no Taysom Hill. He was taking about a fourth of the carries away. There's no Rashid Shaheed in the lineup either. The Panthers have been horrible against running backs. Alvin Kamara could have 10 catches today, guys. Start Alvin Kamara on all DraftKings and FanDuel contests for sure. Rashid Rice and Khalil Shakir stacked together. Really like both of them a lot in this game. I think Khalil Shakir is the unlock on the slate today. He has been seeing a bigger role than I think most people have caught on to yet. He's playing over 70% of the snaps for the Bills. He's really like sharing this wide receiver 2 role with Gabe Davis at this point, especially since they changed their offensive coordinator in Buffalo. The one game Khalil Shakir scored a touchdown, he had 20 points, and that came against the Jets. Now he gets a pretty high-scoring projected game against the Chiefs. I'm playing Zach Moss. I think Zach Moss needs to be in all your lineups. He's going to not come off the field again. He's going to get 20 touches, and I don't think people are as high on him as they should be, and he's priced way too low. Isaiah Likely is the tight end that I'm risking it with. This is where I feel least confident about this lineup. I don't feel great about tight ends in general this week. There's a lot of difficult tight end decisions, but on top of that, this game has a tough weather report here for the tight ends. We got Isaiah Likely in a game projected to have 25-mile-an-hour wind gusts and rain. But the Rams have been horrible against tight ends. I do think there's a route to 2 touchdowns for Isaiah Likely today. And then the Browns against the Jaguars here. An injured Trevor Lawrence. I think the Browns are priced a little too low, even though they've been bad on defense of late. That's the DraftKings lineup today. Hey, Sam, just woke up. Rice, Hall, Olave, sit 1. Good morning if you're just waking up. Good afternoon if you've been here for a while. I've been up for 3 to 4 hours already. We're over 2 hours into this live stream already. But yeah, the answer here is you bench Breece Hall. You start Chris Olave. You start Rashid Rice, especially if this is a PPR league. All right, we got a question here about pick 2. Thanks for subscribing to the TikTok live. I appreciate that. Jose, Jacobs, Achane, Eckler, or Breece. I'll get to this one, Jordan, in a second. Yeah, so I would play Achane over all these guys. I think you start Eckler here. I think you bench Breece Hall. Start Jacobs, Achane, Eckler over Breece. Achane, Mostert, White, Puka, standard. Yeah, so start Achane. Start White, I think, too. It's close between him and Mostert, but definitely not over Puka. I don't hate the Dolphins stack at all, too, though. These guys will combine. 100% are going to combine for at least 1 touchdown. They're 14-point favorites. They've combined for at least 1 touchdown every single game. So I don't hate that at all. I still think White's probably a better option than Mostert. In standard, though, it's much closer. The Dolphins stack here is definitely a safe play. All right, tight ends. Yeah, let me go to the tight end rankings. I got the tight end tiers up on TikTok right now, too. Kincaid, Goddard, or Likely. So I go Goddard here over Kincaid and over Likely. They're all in the same tier for me this week. We got Dallas in Dallas tonight in what's projected to be the highest scoring game of the week. So I'm willing to risk it in his first game back here because of the game environment. And Isaiah Likely, I liked a lot this week, but also the weather has me a little bit concerned. The Rams have been really bad against tight ends this season. That's who Isaiah Likely is up against. But also there's going to be heavy rain and wind gusts up to 25 miles an hour in that Ravens game. I still would play him, though, over Kincaid because Kincaid is dealing with Dawson Knox returning. And I think that really lowers the floor for Kincaid. I still think there's an interesting ceiling for Kincaid. And actually, if we account for the weather for Isaiah Likely, I probably would go Kincaid over Likely this week. But I would take Likely over Kincaid rest of season because of Dawson Knox returning, because of the role Dawson Knox had before he went down with injury. Eckler or Puka? Yeah, I'm going Eckler over Puka. I have to bench 1. Zach Moss, Bijan, Rashad White, Achane. Yeah, bench Rashad. Play Moss, play Bijan, play Achane. All 3 of those are top 6 running backs. I got Rashad White and back into the top 10. Kenneth Walker or McKinnon. I mean, just gross all around. But yeah, I would play McKinnon over Kenneth Walker. I do think that makes sense. I'm playing Clyde and McKinnon over Kenneth Walker. Again, I don't know how we can trust Kenneth Walker. In his first game back, the Seahawks are 14-point underdogs against a defense, the 49ers defense, that's much better against the run than they are against the pass. Stroud or Goff. Yeah, I would go Goff over Stroud this week. I like Clyde a little bit more than McKinnon. I think I would go Clyde, then McKinnon, then Kenneth, then Roshan Johnson in this question. Love or Lawrence? Yeah, it's got to be Love. Rice, Olave, or DK or Puka. Yeah, I would rank these guys as Olave, then Rice, then DK, then Puka. I play Olave over DK. Nico or Puka. Oh, gosh, yeah, both have tough weather games. I think I would go Nico over Puka. I'm in a bit of a pickle. It's a must-win game to get into the playoffs. Who should I start? Trevor Lawrence or Dobbs, and also Brees or Ridley? Yeah. It's really tough to trust Trevor Lawrence today. I don't know how we do it. I would go Dobbs over T-Law. Let me pull up my QB rankings here. The good thing about Josh Dobbs is we know the rushing should be there, and we got Justin Jefferson returning today too. That's huge for Josh Dobbs. And Trevor Lawrence is battling through an injury. I think it does make sense to bench him where you can. And then Brees versus Ridley is close. I think I probably would go Brees over Ridley also. And benching Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley, I do think makes sense. I think Ridley's projected pretty low here in the Walter Picks app. He is. I think this is probably a little bit too low of a Ridley projection with Christian Kirk out. What's going on, everybody, in the YouTube live? If you're just tuning in, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're talking about every single player today on this live stream. A lot to get through today. Let me kick it off, though, with the Weatherman Sam report, because there's absolutely some weather you need to be aware of today in these games. To kick it off, the worst weather game of the day is the Jets and the Texans. Yep, we got a combination of Zach Wilson, 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and rain all in one today. That's going to be fun to watch. Texans defense is good. The Jets offense is going to struggle. Brees Hall should still be very involved. Garrett Wilson, I don't know if I'd start Garrett Wilson with the weather report in this game. On the other side of this game, Nico Collins. I'm less worried about Nico than I am Garrett Wilson, but I'm nervous about him as well. Noah Brown, the sleeper of the day in that game, definitely gets a knock. Also, and then another game with similar weather is the Rams and the Ravens game. Heavy rain and 25-plus mile-an-hour wind gusts in that game as well. That is not great news for Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham Jr. It is not good news for Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp as well. All right, let's get some of these start sits. Must win, Bijan, Barkley, Waddle. Pick two. Yeah, bench Saquon Barkley here. Play Bijan, play Waddle. Both those guys are very, very good options. What's up, Sam, my man? Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you as well. Shout out to everybody in this live stream. I appreciate all of you. Need a running back. Gus Edwards, Tiaje Spears, or CEH? Yeah, it's CEH. It's CEH for sure. He is the starting running back for the Chiefs today. I like CEH just slightly more than I like Jerick McKinnon, but both are definitely in play. Picked up Zeke, but dropped the ball and starting him SMH. Yeah, if you tuned into the Thursday live, Jonah, I would have had you on starting Zeke. Hopefully, plenty of you listened to me on Thursday night about that one. Hit the tons of injuries, must win for playoffs. McKinnon, CEH, Addison, or Cooper. Yeah, so I rank these CEH, McKinnon, then Addison, then Cooper. I do not want anything to do with Cooper today. We got Trevor Lawrence or Derrick Henry in flex. Yeah, I would play Lawrence in flex if you can. I would always go with the quarterback in flex if that's possible. Aaron Jones or McKinnon. Yeah, I would lean Aaron Jones over McKinnon. Definitely a close one there for sure. Let me pull up the running back tiers here on the TikTok live again. Ayuk or Collins. Yeah, I'd go Ayuk over Collins with the weather report in that game. It's a close call there, but yeah, the weather report has me a little bit concerned about Nico Collins. All right, we got a good question here between Moss, Etienne, or Monty. So you got to start Zach Moss. 100% you're starting Zach Moss in basically all situations. I think Zach Moss is probably the most underrated fantasy football player going into this week. He is not coming off the field. He is going to have the high snap percentage again this week. He's going to hit 20 touches. He needs to be started. And then Etienne versus Monty. I think I lean Monty over Etienne. Walter, I think, leans Etienne slightly over Monty. We've got a hashtag revenge game here for David Montgomery against the Bears. A better matchup for David Montgomery than it is for Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne only had 11 carries last game. I'm a little bit concerned about that. I would lean Monty over Travis Etienne, but it's definitely close for sure. CEH or Keaton? Yeah, I think I would lean CEH over Keaton. I would go Charbonnet over Ty Chandler and Roshan Johnson. Seeing that one in the TikTok live. I got my DraftKings lineup up on the screen for you. Saw some people ask about that. Bijan or Corinne Williams? Yeah, I got both these guys really high up in my running back rankings. They're actually number 3 and number 4 respectively. But it's Bijan over Corinne. It's Bijan over Corinne. Bijan, look at this receiving usage for Bijan Robinson. And man, how are you going to bench that in fantasy football, especially if that's a PPR league? Corinne Williams' receiving usage has been elite also. And a tougher matchup for Bijan than Corinne, I'd say. But both are kind of tough. but I would go Bijan over Corinne. Waddle or Devontae Smith? Yeah, I do. Devontae Smith's been balling, man. He's been an elite wide receiver 1 in the last 3 games, but Dallas Goedert's back. I still want to start Devontae Smith in what should be a high-scoring game, but I think I would go Waddle over Devontae Smith. Waddle's been balling of late, too. Waddle has the better matchup here against the Titans, and Dallas Goedert's back. That's why I would go Waddle over Devontae Smith. If you're just tuning in, guys, the best way you could possibly support me in like the next 2 seconds is hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you're watching live on YouTube. We're so close to 13,000 YouTube subscribers. If you're trying to support me the best way you can, though, in a little bit longer time frame than 2 seconds, download the Walter Picks app. Try out one of the subscriptions in the Walter Picks app. We are adding new features to the subscription every single week, and we got tons of betting insights for you in the Walter Picks app. It is a free 7-day trial, too, if you use code Walter, and the app is free in general. Tons of premium features as well, though, that come with that free 7-day trial. Appreciate everyone that's tried the app already and the subscription and the free trial. Thank you all so much, seriously, for all of your support. All right. Would you rather Achane or ETN rest of the season? Yeah, this one's not close. It's Achane. We were just looking at the Achane game logs like 20 minutes ago. Achane has played every fully healthy game Achane has played. He's gone over 20 PPR points. There's only 4 of them. He's 4 for 4. I wouldn't be shocked if he ends the season 8 for 8. He's insanely efficient. He's seeing significant usage in the red zone, and he's a very good receiving back. He ran a route on 60% of the dropbacks for the Dolphins last week. Sam started Terry last week and still pulled off a win. If I win, I'm in. Let's go, Andrew. Love or Dobbs? I'm going to drop Singletary. So do I pick up Mingo or McKinnon? Pick up McKinnon if he's available. McKinnon needs to be rostered in all leagues. McKinnon could easily do what McKinnon did last season. Guys, McKinnon won fantasy leagues last year. Let me pull up the McKinnon game logs just to refresh us, because if McKinnon's available in your league, he should not be. In all of my leagues, McKinnon was swooped up in seconds after the Isaiah Pacheco report. Look at this stretch he had of games. You can't really see it, I don't think, on the YouTube Live. I'll hide your comment here in a second, but I do think I'll get to that Love versus Dobbs question. But yeah, McKinnon had 32 points, 34 points, 13 points, and 22 points in the fantasy playoffs last year. And now Isaiah Pacheco is out. It doesn't sound like he's going to land on IR, but he's out this week. I like CEH a little bit more than McKinnon. McKinnon's first game back from injury. I think CEH is the better bet for a touchdown, but McKinnon needs to be added for sure. All right, and then we got Jordan Love versus Josh Dobbs. And Jordan Love has been balling. Josh Dobbs, there was some talks about him getting benched for Jaron Hall out of the bye week here, but he gets Justin Jefferson back this week, and he is starting. They're back-to-back in the Walter Picks app rankings. I'll pull my QB rankings here on the YouTube Live. I do think I'll pull the QB rankings here on the TikTok Live also. I do think I have Jordan Love one spot ahead of Dobbs also. Yeah, you got to go Jordan Love. Jordan Love's been balling. No Christian Watson, but still not a horrible matchup here against the Giants. Yeah, I would go with Jordan Love over Josh Dobbs, but definitely really, really close. Boyd, Spears, Kincaid. Yeah, I think I'd probably go Spears, then Boyd, then Kincaid. I'm nervous about Kincaid with Dawson Knox back. I do think his floor is pretty low. All right, start one, Higgins or Thielen. Yikes, Evan. I don't want to start either of these guys. I probably would go Higgins over Thielen. Jaden Reed or Cooks at the flex, definitely that's a close call. Let's do that comparison. Actually, pretty comparable high ceiling plays. I do like Jaden Reed a lot with Brandon Cooks being out. Go to the wide receiver tiers here so we can look at those while I talk through this. Yeah, it's Reed. It's Reed over Cooks. I think Reed's floor, too, is higher than Cooks. Justin Fields or Brock Purdy, definitely start Fields. Goff or Dobbs. Yeah, I'm going Goff, I think, over Dobbs. Mostert or White. Got to go Rashad White over Mostert. Start 3, DK. Evans, Moore, Puka, Nico. Yeah, so you got to start DJ Moore and Mike Evans. And then DK Metcalf versus Nico is close. And Nico Collins has a tough weather report today. There's 30-mile-an-hour plus wind gusts in that Jets game, and there is significant rain too. But I still think I'd go Nico Collins over DK Metcalf with the Geno Smith injury and Geno Smith not playing. Nico Collins, I still think, gets to 10 targets today. I would definitely play Fields over Stroud with the weather in that game. McKinnon, Kincaid, or Downs at flex, crying face. Yeah, I would not play Kincaid here. I think you should play McKinnon. I think McKinnon's the answer to the test here. Over Downs and over Kincaid. Alec Pierce outplayed Josh Downs in their last game. I'm a little bit concerned about that for Josh Downs. Justin Fields or CJ Stroud, also Ravens, and say, yeah, play the Saints defense for sure. And I like the Ravens defense a little bit too, but yeah, I'd play the Saints defense over them. And then, yeah, I'd go Justin Fields over CJ Stroud. Pick 2, PPR, Eckler, ETN, or Mostert. I'm benching ETN there. I'm playing Austin Eckler over Travis Etienne. I don't care about these reports as much as a lot of other people do with Austin Eckler and splitting carries and Josh Kelly getting more involved. Guys, Austin Eckler is still an elite receiving back. Austin Eckler still has some of the highest touchdown ceiling in the league. Like, no, don't play Clyde Edwards-Helaire over Austin Eckler. Rashee Rice, sure, we can talk about that. Courtland Sutton, sure, happy to have that conversation. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire over Eckler is not something I would ever tell anyone to do, especially with the matchups this week. So, yeah, I play Eckler over ETN. Corinne or Debo flex. I'm playing Corinne over Debo pretty easily. I'm going to play JSN versus Garrett Wilson. Actually, is pretty close. I think it's still Garrett Wilson over JSN. I'm playing Waddle over ETN. Not a fan of 2 tight ends, but flex Breece Hall, Puka, or Jake Ferguson. Yeah, flex Breece Hall over Puka and over Jake Ferguson. James Cook or Puka flex. Yeah, this one's pretty close too. Let's do this James Cook. Puka. I have not been a fan of James Cook much this season because as good as he's been at times and as efficient as he's been, he doesn't get touchdowns. He needs to break out big runs for touchdowns. Let's do James Cook and Puka. Let's see this. Wow, they're both projected 12 points. James Cook is in a what should be a high-scoring game here against the Chiefs. James Cook has 1 rushing touchdown this season. He's coming off back-to-back 16-plus point games. I think James Cook over Puka is fine. Flex Achane or DK. Don't bench Achane. Do not bench Achane, guys. Achane is an elite option. Achane does not have a game under 20 points where he finished the game fully healthy. He's 4 for 4. And I think he'll probably go 5 for 5 this week. Browns or Vikings defense? Yeah, I'd probably go Browns defense. Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson, Minshew. Got to start 2. Yeah, I'm starting Minshew over Trevor Lawrence and definitely starting Lamar Jackson here. So I've benched Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is not going to be mobile today. Trevor Lawrence is a tough matchup today, too, against the Browns. Hey, Sam, Javonte or Pollard? Also pick 2, Debo, Puka, or Kupp. Yeah, so I do like Javonte a little bit more than Pollard, but it's definitely very close. And then Debo, Puka. Walter also really likes Javonte in his projections in the Walter Picks app this week, too, which gives me some confidence. And then Debo, Puka, or Kupp. Yeah, I'd go Debo and Puka over Kupp. I'm definitely fine benching Kupp at this point, even though he's coming off a decent game last week. I'd play David Montgomery over Cooper Kupp as well. Henry or Keaton Mitchell, full PPR. Oh, man, this one's close. I really don't want to start Derrick Henry. This is not a good Derrick Henry game. Just going in at high level. They're 13-point underdogs or 14-point underdogs in this game. Derrick Henry is the guy you want when the Titans are winning, and they're not going to be winning in this game. Wow, we have Keaton Mitchell, I think. Wow, just barely ahead of Derrick Henry. Super close one here. I'm fine with it. Go Keaton Mitchell over Derrick Henry. I do think this is a bad game script here for Derrick Henry. Definitely a bust potential game for the King Henry. All right, Minshew or Russ. Yeah, it's Russ over Minshew. Russ is definitely a decent option against the Chargers this week. DK or Olave, got to be Olave. It's got to be Olave over DK. We got no weapons for the Saints today other than Olave and Alvin Kamara. Olave is an elite option, top of tier 2 for me. I would play Dobbs over Trevor Lawrence. I would play Lamar over Tua. I would play Breece over Nico Collins. Tight end ratings. Yeah, I got my tight end rankings coming up next, but I do think that Kincaid is the bust of the week at tight end with Dawson Knox returning. If he doesn't bust this week, I think he will bust in future weeks. There's still a ceiling here for Kincaid. I'll go to the tight end rankings now, actually. There's still a ceiling here for Kincaid, but the floor is definitely kind of scary with Dawson Knox coming back. All right, let's go to some more start-sit questions. Why Ridley over Amari? Yeah, so Amari Cooper dealing with injuries. I was actually kind of surprised that he cleared concussion protocol. He had a rib injury too. Let's pull this up. Ridley and Amari. This is a game against each other here. Cooper wins this projection in the Walter Picks app. Ridley's averaged more points though. And really Ridley without Christian Kirk, he's had at least 6 targets in 3 straight. Tough matchup here against the Browns. The Jags secondary has been much more exploitable. I don't feel super strongly about this one. Looking at this closer, I think this is super, super close. It's a better matchup here for Amari than it is for Ridley by a lot. But Amari Cooper's playing with Joe Flacco. Amari Cooper's coming off a game where he got hurt. He had 6 points. He's had under 10 points in 3 straight. Ridley, meanwhile, has been pretty hot. He's had at least 20 points in 2 of his last 3, only 7 points last time out. It's close. I still think I would side with Ridley over Amari, but with Christian Kirk out, but it's definitely close. And both are definitely pretty risky options, I'd say, this week. How is Hawkinson even ranked close with Kittle or Laporta? Yeah, because Justin Jefferson's coming back this week, that's why, like in past weeks, I would have had Hawkinson in this Kelsey tier. But with Jefferson back, I do think Hawkinson's probably more in this Laporta Kittle tier. And I wouldn't say that's really that big of a knock too on Hawkinson. Laporta has been incredibly consistent. Kittle has one of the few elite ceilings that exist at the tight end position. You think you could mix and match the order even of that top 2 tiers a little bit if you wanted to. I think the gap between tier 1 and tier 2 has shrunk a little bit. But yeah, from tier 2 to tier 3, it's a huge drop off here to Kittle, to Ferguson, Kmet, Ingram, and then Goddard, Kincaid, Likely, and Njoku. I do like Goddard more than all those. We got Dallas in Dallas today. Thanks, as always. One more for defenses. We start Ravens, Saints, or Packers. Yeah, I like the Saints, then the Packers, then the Ravens. Brandon Cooks, Rasheed, or James Cook at flex. Mason, the answer here is Rashee Rice. The answer to the test today is Rashee Rice. He's the free player prop of the day. I do like Rashee Rice over 52.5 receiving yards. Lock this one in. We are 22-9 on the free player props this season, guys. That is a ridiculous percentage and track record this season. Let me pull this up on the YouTube live as well. The free player prop of the day is Rashee Rice over 52.5 receiving yards. Some books have this at 50.5. I don't get why it's at 50.5. He's had a 30% target share or above in 2 straight games. He broke his own record of snap percentage in 2 straight games. This is the game log straight from the Walter Picks app if you're watching live on TikTok or on YouTube. This is a free app that I helped build. The best way you can support me is going down this app. You get all the game logs like this for all the players for free in the Walter Picks app. It's in the TikTok bio. It's in the YouTube description. Anyways, back-to-back games with a 30% target share for Rashee Rice. Back-to-back games with 8 catches for Rashee Rice. He's beat this prop line in 4 of his last 6 games, 5 of his last 7 games. And now we get a game against the Bills that's projected to be super high scoring. I like Rashee Rice a lot, for sure, today. And I do think he's a good start, and I do think he's a good prop to take today as well. All right, let's get back to these wide receiver tiers here. Goddard over Likely. Yep, I would go Goddard over Likely. I think I probably would have said Likely over Goddard if it wasn't for this Ravens weather report, which does have me a bit concerned about the passing in this Ravens game. CJ Stroud reuniting with Garrett Wilson. That's pretty cool to see. Tyler Higbee is officially inactive. Officially active. Trevor Lawrence, Derek Carr, Chris Olave, AJ Terrell is officially active. Amari Cooper, Travis Etienne, Tyler Boyd. Officially inactive. Taysom Hill, man. Rashid Shaheed, inactive. Tyler Boyd and Noah Brown, they're active. Nothing major here, really, that we weren't expecting in these official injury reports. Having a hard time starting Rice over Sutton with the matchups. Yeah, both have decent matchups. I mean, the matchup for Sutton is better. It's close. It's definitely super close. I would play Rashee Rice over Travis Etienne. Sorry, Julian, for taking that one down. I would play Rashee Rice also over Cortland Sutton, but it's certainly close. Their prop lines are like right next to each other too. Would you start McKinnon over Garrett Wilson? No, I don't think I'd go this far. I think I'd still start Garrett Wilson over McKinnon. Would you start Aaron Jones if he plays or Brees? I think I would go Brees, I think, over Aaron Jones. Definitely a close one there too. Playing for the 1 seed. Let's go. Have Ayuk, wide receiver 1, Devontae Smith, wide receiver 2, and Kupp at flex. Should I put D-Hop or Godwin over Kupp? I would go D-Hop over Kupp. Jake Ferguson or Likely? Definitely Jake Ferguson over Likely. Ravens or Colts D? Yeah, it's the Ravens defense. I like the defenses that are favored to win by the most points. That is the Baltimore Ravens for sure. That is the Saints for sure. I do really like the 49ers defense. I doubt they're available. I also like the Dolphins defense, and I like the Packers defense as well, and I like the Saints defense also. But yeah, the Ravens defense is definitely a really good option, especially with the weather report in that game. What's up, Sam? Win and in. Projected to lose by 20. Okay, start 1. Ingram or Everett. Yeah, it's Ingram over Everett. And then Reed or Higgins. It's Reed over Higgins. It's Reed for sure over Higgins. I do think Reed and Ingram could try to close that gap on the 20-point projection that you're down by right now. D-Hop, Jay Reed or Brandon Cooks. Yes, Hop. I'd go D-Hop over Reed and Cooks. I like them both a lot. DJ or Nico. Yeah, it's got to be DJ over Nico. We go to the tight end tiers. Half PPR, Brees or Sutton. Leaning Sutton. Yeah, I'd go Sutton over Brees as well. In PPR, it's a little easier of a call, but I still think half PPR, I'd go Brees over Cortland Sutton. Cup, Mingo, or Judy. Judy versus Cup. I don't think I'd play Mingo here. Mingo has been getting decent usage, so I'll include him in this comparison. Cup is playing in a game that is not a great matchup, not a great weather report. Judy, I do like the ceiling for Judy this week. I always worry about his floor a little bit. It's Judy over Cup, man. It's Judy over Cup. Any advice for good waiver wire running backs? Yeah, it's CEH and it's McKinnon. And I think Tyjae Spears, he shouldn't be available either. I would play CEH over Gus for sure. I'd play Jordan Love over Trevor Lawrence. Will David Montgomery pop off? He definitely has the potential to. Jerome Ford or DeAndre Swift? Yeah, I think I would go Swift over Ford, but that one's actually pretty close. Eckler or JSN in PPR? Yeah, so I'm playing Eckler over JSN. I'm not panicking on Austin Eckler. I'm not over panicking. I'm down for a mild panic on Austin Eckler. We can mild panic on Eckler together, but we're not going to over panic on a guy that was a first-round pick, on a guy that still has some of the highest touchdown in receiving ceilings in the league. I'm not over panicking about these few reports about Eckler and benching him entirely. Will Achane pop off? Yeah, he probably will. Devon Achane has over 20 points in all 4 of his games where he was fully healthy at the end of the game. He's 4 for 4 in 20-plus point games. And the Dolphins are 14-point favorites. He had 17 carries last week. He's an elite receiving back. He ran a route on over half the dropbacks for the Dolphins last week. So, yeah, you got to feel good about Devon Achane for sure. I do like JSN. I'm not playing him over Austin Eckler. Absolutely not. Need some helpful PPR. T. Higgins, Elijah Moore, Romeo Doubs, Gabe Davis. Yes, Elijah Moore. This is the first Elijah Moore question I've seen today, which I'm kind of surprised about. Have you guys been noticing this Elijah Moore usage? Elijah Moore, I think he led all receivers in air yards last week. He had 255 air yards with Joe Flacco last week. Now he gets the Jaguars secondary. Elijah Moore is in play today for sure. I think Romeo Doubs is. I'd probably play over Elijah Moore, even Gabe Davis. I think you could argue Elijah Moore should be benched for Gabe Davis too. But, man, it's hard to ignore the usage from Elijah Moore last game, and I do appreciate you putting him in this sit question. I start all these guys over T. Higgins, by the way. Can't start T. Higgins right now. Absolutely not. Yeah, the answer here is Romeo Doubs. With Christian Watson out, Romeo Doubs. Is Joe Flacco over C.J. Stroud crazy? It's crazy, man. It's like not that crazy. Just given the context around C.J. Stroud today, Stroud is a guy I'd prefer to bench today. He is. As good as Stroud has been, Stroud already won Rookie of the Year, guys. It's already over. That's how good he's been. Like, Stroud gets hurt today, he's still QB1. And Flacco doesn't even have a projection. That's not right here. But I do think Stroud still needs to be started over Flacco. But yeah, the context around Stroud today, he's playing the Jets. They've been really good against quarterbacks, and there's going to be 30-mile-an-hour winds, and there's going to be rain. I'm going to fix this Joe Flacco projection here in the app. And it looks like it was fixed now. Yeah. He's projected 12 points. Yeah, he's still got to go C.J. Stroud. Lamar or Russ? Yeah, you got to start Lamar over Russ. Collins or Reed or Eckler? Collins or Reed or Eckler? It's Eckler. It's Eckler. Don't over panic. Browning or Trevor Lawrence? Yeah, it's Browning over Trevor Lawrence. As I say, don't over panic. Don't over panic on Austin Eckler. That's what I was meant to say. Ridley or Addison? Yeah, I'd go Ridley over Addison. It's definitely close though. Ayuk or White? I'd go White over Ayuk. Goddard or Kincaid? I'm going Goddard over Kincaid. I'm nervous about Kincaid. I got Kincaid on the must bench list today on TikTok because Dawson Knox is back, and Dawson Knox played over half the snaps in every game he's played this season. I was subbed to the app, but my subscription just ended. Could you pick 2, Eckler or Olave and Montgomery? Yeah, resubscribe to the app, man. This does help us out so much. I appreciate you doing the subscription, whether you resubscribe or not. And yeah, you got to bench Montgomery here. I'm playing Eckler over Monty, and I'm playing Eckler over Derrick Henry, seeing that on the TikTok Live, and I'm playing Olave over all of them. Olave is an elite option today for sure. Kenneth Walker or Chiefs running backs? I'm going Chiefs running backs, and I like Clyde a little bit more than McKinnon. Why Did the Bills draft Dalton? Yeah, I mean, he's been great. Dalton Kincaid is better than Dawson Knox, but Dawson Knox is still going to play. Start Swift or CEH, non-PPR. Oh gosh, that one's a close call between Swift and CEH. Let's see here. Go to the running back tiers. Yeah, I got Swift like 3 spots ahead of Clyde. Why no love for Thielen against the Saints? Yeah, because Thielen's been terrible. Thielen has had a really bad stretch. Thielen has not had over 20 points since week 6. He has a combined 6 points in his last 2 games. And the Saints have actually been a good secondary. They're allowing the 4th fewest points to receivers this whole season. So yeah, no love for Thielen for me today. I think Thielen's a must bench. Purdy or Lamar, Ayuk or Mixon, full PPR. Yeah, I got Lamar over Purdy. And I think I would go Ayuk over Mixon as well. I'm a little bit scared about the floor for these 49ers pass catchers today. But I still think Ayuk over Mixon makes sense. I think Mixon's probably a safer play. Ayuk is a higher ceiling, though. Garrett Wilson, Dobbs, or Jaden Reed? Yeah, I would go Dobbs. I'd go Dobbs over Jaden Reed. YouTube Live. We're heading to the final stretch here of this live stream where I wrap up the last 30 minutes of the live over on TikTok. If I didn't get to your start sit, I'm going to go rapid fire here on YouTube and try to get to as many as I can really quickly. But we're going to head over to the YouTube live for the last 30 minutes of the live. Sorry, the TikTok live for the last 30 minutes of the live momentarily. Good luck today, everybody. All right, let's go to the rapid fire section here on the YouTube, and then we'll wrap up. James Cook, Cooks, Gus, Jay Reed, Dobbs, Elijah Moore, Noah Brown. Yeah, I'd go James Cook, Brandon Cooks, and Romeo Dobbs here. I'd bench Elijah Moore, bench Noah Brown, bench Gus Edwards. Brees or Javonte. I like Brees more than Javonte. Dobbs or Baker. I'd go Dobbs over Baker. I'm playing Waddle over Elijah Moore pretty easily. I'm playing Waddle over Dontavian Wicks. I play Elijah Moore over Dontavian Wicks. I do think Wicks is an interesting sleeper, though. One running back, one receiver, one flex. Yeah, I'd go Moss here for sure. I'd go Devontae Adams here for sure. And if that's DJ Moore, start DJ Moore. I'd go Moss, DJ Moore, Devontae Adams, especially if this is PPR. Yeah, if you're making the playoffs after starting 0-6, that's an absolute baller season for you. Fields or Lamar. Yeah, I would go. I think I would go. Let me go to the QB tiers here again. I think it's close, actually. Yeah, it's Lamar. It's Lamar over Fields. Bench one here between Gibbs, Eckler, Moss, and Pollard, full PPR. So, like, here, I'm okay benching Eckler. Jaden, this is a fine spot to bench Eckler. We're not going to over-panic, but we can slightly panic and start good options over Eckler. We're not going to start Clyde Edwards-Helaire over Austin Eckler, but we can start Tony Pollard and Zach Moss and Jahmyr Gibbs over Austin Eckler. I'm fine with that one. Lawrence or Russ? Yeah, I'd go Russ over Lawrence. With the injury Lawrence is playing through, I play Jaden Reed over Puka Nacua. I think that's fine given the weather report in the Rams game. Waddle, DJ Moore, Javonte pick 2. Yes, the first 2. Bench Javonte, play Waddle, play DJ Moore. I'm playing Devontae Smith over Austin Eckler. I think that's fine. I'm playing Olave over Austin Eckler. I think that's fine. Trevor or Dobbs. I'm playing Dobbs over Trevor. I'm playing Achane and Saquon over Ayuk. Gibbs, Monty, Ford, Edwards. Yeah, I'd rank those guys in that order. Gibbs, then Monty, then Ford. What's your expectation for Jefferson first game back? 100 yards. At least 100 yards is my expectation for Jefferson. I think that any expectation below that would be underestimating Justin Jefferson, even with Josh Dobbs, even in his first game back. I expect Jefferson, too, to see like a full role. He's fully healthy, in my opinion, with how much time he's had to get healthy. And the Vikings are still in the hunt. So, yeah, I think Jefferson's going to have a huge game. A happy Sunday, Sam. Pick 2, Addison, Madison, JSN, McKinnon, Ingram. I think it's these middle 3. I don't think I'd play Ingram or Addison here. It's Madison, JSN, and McKinnon. I think I'd go JSN and McKinnon here. Godwin, Lockett, or Ford. Also Tucker or McPherson at kicker. Yeah, I'd go never bench Justin Tucker. I would play Sutton over Godwin and Lockett and Ford too. I would go Sutton for here for sure. YouTube Live. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to go be live still for the last 30 minutes on TikTok Live at Walter Picks on TikTok. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, hit it. We're going to be live every Thursday night and Sunday morning for the rest of the season. Time is the most valuable thing, guys. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I appreciate every single one of you. Make sure you check out the Walter Picks app. If you don't follow us to the TikTok Live, check out the Walter Picks app. It's going to help you with all of your start, sit decisions. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Good luck today. Everybody, I'll see you next week.